Hello, everyone. My name is Maddie. You're listening to the No Nerds Were Hard podcast. This is a podcast about movies, comics, games, and all things nerdy. Right off the bat, I want to address a change in the show. Jack is not here. I don't want to share too much because the wound is still fresh. 1 week in January, we decided we wanted to do a podcast, and by the end of that week, we made the podcast, and it was great. The problem is that I thought we shared the same enthusiasm and drive for the show, but we're just on different wavelengths, so I'm sad to see him go because he had great opinions, and he's a fucking nerd, so I love him. Wish him the best of luck in everything that he wants to do. I still plan to keep in touch with him. Would love to have him on for Star Wars shows. He was very excited about Star Wars shows, and he's definitely knowledgeable in that shit, so I definitely want to have him on. But in light of everything, our guest for the last 2 episodes, Tyler Burke, has decided to become my co-host on this No Nerds Were Harmed journey. So Tyler, welcome. Glad to have you, dude.
Hello, glad to be here.
Hell yeah. So this episode, Tyler, tell the guests or tell the listeners what they're getting in this episode.
Oh, we are getting the one, the only, the amazing Spider-Man.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, Spider-Man, everything Spider-Man. The 3 Spider-Men, so to say.
The 3 Spider-Men.
The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Yes. We're also going to be touching on Into the Spider-Verse. So all the movies, the movies pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much all the live action and I guess animated.
Yeah.
Movies.
We're going to talk about the things we like, things we didn't like. We're going to rank them all. We're going to go over some of the things that we're reading, some of the things we're playing. But first, we're going to hit you with some nerd news. What kind of nerd news you got, Tyler?
Daredevil. Filming. End of 2022, early 2023. I've looked into this because there's a couple things on what is going on. Is it going to be a reboot? Is it going to be a continuation? Yeah. And I looked a couple different places, and it seems like right now nothing's confirmed. It's just confirmed that Charlie Cox is shooting Daredevil stuff end of 2022, end of 2023.
What is your wish for that? Do you want not a reboot, but
I don't want a reboot. I would like all of let me tell you some of the things that the kind of Daredevil hardcore community has gone to bat with that I've looked at. There is the talk of a full-on reboot where he will be Daredevil, and it may not be the reboot in the sense of showing you the story of Daredevil like we already have seen, but just kind of, we're going to forget all that, take a couple characters, and we're good to go. There is the idea of an alternate universe, which we will be discussing in this movie now that we've seen that Marvel has pulled off multiverses and things like that. The idea of like Matt Murdock from the TV show slips into now the MCU universe is a very easy thing that they can do and kind of forget all of that or bring up what they want to bring up.
Yeah.
The other idea is Lost in the Snap, which I kind of fuck with. The idea that like Matt Murdock, any of these big characters they want to bring in have happened to be gone the last 5 years or that Snap thing. So you have an idea of how you can explain the gap of information they're missing or what they do and don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of a creative out for them. That's why I kind of like that.
Okay.
And then the other idea is a lot of people are just pushing for the semi-canon. They said, we understand that everyone wants everything to be so super canon, but there's also no problem with... I was such a fan of the TV shows, the Marvel Daredevil TV shows that are now on Disney+.
Yeah.
That I would hate to see all that kind of be for nothing, because it's amazing, and when you see that Daredevil and Charlie Cox Daredevil, you understand that journey like he kind of went through. You know what I mean?
It'd be a very much a too soon thing as well. That
correct.
A lot of people watching it love it. I haven't watched it. I haven't finished it. I've started it, haven't finished it. But for people who are in love with Daredevil, for Marvel or the MCU to say, you know what, we're gonna reboot it, they'd be like, what the fuck? I know.
Upset. Yeah, I would be very upset. So that I'm kind of hoping the semi-canon thing happens, where they clearly are like, okay, this happened, but we don't need to be so, because like people are getting caught up in like, well, Mahershala Ali is supposed to be Blade, and he played Copperhead in Luke Cage.
Oh,
so
okay.
people are mad about like people are like, how is that going to? So that's where it starts to get. So it's like
I haven't watched that, so
part of us have
surprised
to
me.
kind of pick and choose what we're going to choose as canon, and I think Marvel is getting so big that they have to get to a point where that's going to happen anyways. So I would hate to see all of that be all for nothing.
Yeah.
But the fact we're getting more Daredevil, no matter what it is, I'm very happy because Charlie Cox is my Daredevil, for sure.
Awesome. That's a good piece because I did have that too because I don't really understand what the hell's going on with that too. So we'll keep everybody posted on that for sure. As soon as we know, you guys will know. Piece of nerd news that I have is that the Umbrella Academy season 3 is going to be starting up, or is going to be released on June 22nd. I'm not sure if you watched Umbrella Academy.
I have
or
not.
not.
It's on the top of my watch list.
Okay,
it's right
so,
there. Everyone that has recommended it like it's a really good watch.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a fun show. It's based off a graphic novel. This is season 3, and it's based off the 4th book, but that'll be released on June 22nd on Netflix. So that release date just came out. So I'm hoping that everybody gets to watch it because it's a fucking good show. Do you have anything else?
I do.
I might have more than you. So
I was going to say, you probably do have more nerd news than
maybe
me.
I'll give 2 the next time.
Yeah. One that's a little more sad, Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of you have heard because a lot of actors, filmmakers, comedians, everybody has really kind of reached out on the internet because Bruce Willis has retired from acting. Yeah. He is dealing, where he's been diagnosed with aphasia, which is a disease, from what I can understand, that impacts cognitive abilities. So it's making communication very, very difficult for him, and he's losing more and more of it as it goes on. I was reading into it, and I don't know if it is like a tumor in the brain, or it's very similar to a tumor in the brain on a certain part of the brain.
Okay.
Where it's unfortunately causing him to kind of lose his communication skills. Damn. So he has obviously stepped away from acting, and it's super sad because you think of Bruce Willis and he is one of the epitome kind of action guys.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? The tough guy, and he's played that his entire career. You know, that's and it's sad to see someone have to kind of call their career short because he was still making movies and stuff like
absolutely.
that. You know what I mean? So
like he's not dead, but like
it's
a gone too soon thing.
Like
he had more shit that he could have done that would have been great.
That's what I'm saying, and that's what's nice is that he is kind of retiring and taking time with his family or whatever. So he's gonna do him. It's just his career is come to a halt for now, and that's what's kind of sad. Just being a film guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone loves Bruce Willis when you're a film nerd, so it's just like, damn, we're not gonna get much more.
Hopefully, we see him again in the future.
Willis. But yeah,
do you have a favorite Bruce Willis film? If you had to pick just one, don't tell me 2.
I know.
Just one.
I know.
I'm gonna go. If I had to pick my favorite Bruce Willis movie, I'm gonna go Sixth Sense.
Okay, good one. Mine's much more of a cheesy pick. I love Bruce Willis and Armageddon's my guy.
Oh fuck, that's my number 2, man.
I love it. Like I said, Armageddon's one of those movies. It's Michael Bay and all that.
It really is.
But the cast of that movie is a juggernaut cast, and they all are huge A-list stars now that were playing little B characters. Yeah. And so like you get to see literally almost every dude in that movie has won some type of award for acting, and so like Armageddon, Bruce Willis is hell yeah. It's top tier.
That's a great movie. I fucking
top tier.
I fuck with that movie for sure. Mm-hmm. Some casting news. Christopher Lloyd, fucking Doc Brown's gonna be in Mandalorian season 3.
Dude. Wow. This is 2 things happening. This is either Jon Favreau is finally just calling all his like dream people he wants to work with and is like, yo, you want to get in on Star Wars?
Yeah.
Or the opposite. Everybody who's ever wanted to get on Star Wars is now calling Jon Favreau like, hey man, think you can get me in? And they don't necessarily just have to do like the Daniel Craig, like, all right, I'll just be a stormtrooper, no one will know. Mm-hmm. Like all these really famous people are starting to become characters in the Star Wars universe. It's wild.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't end up being like a fucking alien or something that I can't see. I mean, I'd be a little disappointed with that,
Who knows, man?
He has a very distinct look to him, though, that people are gonna be like, that's fucking Doc Brown. I can't separate.
Make him a fucking droid.
Yeah. That'd be cool, too.
Who knows? That's it.
I would hope that... No.
Whatever he is, it's something he wants to be.
Yeah.
That, you know what I mean? When you're that old and you're that, like, prestigious of an actor, he has input in whatever he's about to do in the Star Wars universe. And so whatever he's doing, he fully wants to do. You know?
Do you or do you not want him to, whatever role he takes in this show, for him to at least say Great Scott once?
No. I'm not a huge fan of No. I like Back to the Future.
Oh fuck! I was gonna say
I'm not as crazy as
this
some
is
people are.
Tyler's
I know
first
that
and
you
last
like
episode as a
Yeah,
co-host.
I know that he really likes Back to the Future. I like Back to the Future, but I'm not a huge fan of carrying like shticks from other movies into other characters of different movies.
I can see that. Okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen very often, but that's one that's like, no, leave Great Scott over there.
Okay, I get you. Mm-hmm. To keep on the Star Wars with Mandalorian, I'm gonna push over to Obi-Wan. I'm not sure if this was part of your nerd news.
No.
That Obi-Wan is gonna be pushed back. The original date was May 25th, and now it's being pushed back 2 days to May 27th, which there's a lot of people that are pissed about it. And I'm like, it's 2 fucking days.
I can live with 2 days.
And what they're going to do is they're giving us the first 2 episodes. So
then what are you crying about?
we get 1 episode. I don't know. I can't remember how many episodes there are going to be. 6 or 8.
Interesting. I wonder why they're doing that. I wonder why 2 days. There has to be something that either is like a rights situation or something is coming out or leaving that they're like, we don't really want to fuck with those numbers. We want to start on this day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
2 days is so weird.
Yeah, it really is. And something else that's releasing on that day, which we already covered before, is that Stranger Things. So the first part of Stranger Things comes out on the same day. So I'm like, fuck.
27th?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, now I gotta watch fucking 2 episodes of Obi-Wan.
Unless Disney's doing this to prove like a point to like release a like Marvel Disney show on the same day as Netflix's big show to go head to head with like numbers of like who's the big dog.
They just want to test it out.
That would be insane, but who knows?
I mean, like Disney's ballsy, so maybe I could see
wild.
it. You got anything?
One more thing.
Okay.
Since this is nerd news, I don't really like to jump into Hollywood gossip very much.
Ooh, okay.
I don't. I really don't like. Everyone's got their own thing going on and their own issues at the time and all that. But since this is a nerd podcast, I think we have to cover what's going on with The Flash, our boy Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller's getting himself into a little bit of trouble in the great state of Hawaii.
Yeah, so when did it start? Do you like a week ago?
I don't have the timetable. I from what I was, it seems in the past month he's had quite a few run-ins with local law enforcement. Not so much being arrested multiple times, but just multiple, like, either being called on or talked to in public.
Yeah.
There's been multiple accounts, but the big ones were this weekend because he was at a karaoke bar, or this past week. He was at a karaoke bar and started yelling at a couple that was singing.
Because he didn't like the song, or
well, that's what made me laugh. Because the icing on the cake was the couple was duetting a version of "Shallow" from the like "A Star Is Born," like, you know what I mean. So that makes it almost more funny because that's like the big ballad song, you know. So apparently he had issue with that, and kind of went off about that. And I guess management kind of told him like, "You need to chill, bro." And then later on in the night, he had an altercation with a man that was playing darts. So I don't know if he was just like yelling at some guy trying to throw darts, and so that was a problem. So eventually he ended up getting arrested and bailed out for $500 by a couple that he's been staying with. This couple, from the articles I read, are someone that he met at a farmer's market while he was staying in Hawaii. So he's kind of just been chilling with them, and they now have filed a restraining order against Ezra because he barged into their room the night after he got bailed out. They bailed him out. He barged into their room and said, "I will bury you and your slut wife." So then they filed a restraining order against him, and now it's like
is any of this like intoxication, or is he
like, and that's the thing,
is that not been released?
There hasn't been like, oh, he's been super drunk or super this or super that. So I mean, like I said, it's, I like to think we like to bring a little comedy to our podcast as well. So it's hard to not cover this without a comedic lens because it's so ridiculous to the fact that the
really
karaoke
is.
song that set him off was The Shallows. You know what I mean? It's like things like that. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
That and I don't know. It's like Ezra's turning more and more into the reverse Flash every day, dude. He's really taking the wrong word. So it's a piece of nerd news. Like I said, I don't really like to get into Hollywood gossip, but since he is a literal lead superhero, it's kind of topical due to the fact that it is so ridiculous to what like this police report is claiming and like what he got in trouble for.
I mean, he's arguably.
Now again, he hasn't been like arrested. He's not in jail now or anything. It's nothing like serious, but there's just a lot of little things I feel like stacking up in this restraining order was like kind of the one that broke the camel's back, where now people are really starting to take notice at his actions.
Besides fucking like Avatar 2, that his movie's got to be one of the biggest movies coming out within the next year.
Oh, I'm sure. And I mean, as far as like the amount of money and time and like stake that DC has put in backing this thing, it's like that's what's more like nerve-wracking. Like, oh, DC execs have to be going just crazy. They have to be just having a heart attack, not knowing what to do.
Fuck yeah. Absolutely.
I couldn't imagine. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll kind of keep you posted. Hopefully Ezra just figures it out. He's just kind of having himself a nice, what do they call that? Like a rumspringer in Hawaii. Yeah.
2 days from now, he's just gonna be like, man, never do Molly again.
Yeah, he's gonna be like
something like that.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah. So, speaking of Avatar 2, it was released that the first trailer for Avatar 2 is going to be attached to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which comes out May 6th. So, for people who aren't even interested in Multiverse of Madness, they might be like, I want to go get my ass in that seat so I can see first bits of Avatar 2.
Dude, Avatar stans are hardcore fans, man.
They really are. They really are.
That could be interesting. I mean, it's another movie that's like 10 years in the making. So it's like, all right, let's see what they're gonna.
I can't remember what the original release date of the Avatar 2 was supposed to be, but
a long time ago.
I mean, I believe that when this one comes out, though, it's supposed to be one 2022, one in 2024, and then one in 2026. So I mean,
James Cameron
as of
takes
now,
like 15 years to put out a movie. Anyway,
he does.
So he's like the Christopher Nolan.
He puts out gold, though.
Oh, exactly. So, that's the thing.
I mean, people have their opinions about Avatar, but it's still a good movie. It's still revolutionary and groundbreaking. Oh,
exactly.
And shit like
that's
that.
what I'm saying.
I mean, it's gonna make money.
Exactly.
I'm gonna see it.
Yeah, I will too.
December. Fuck yeah. Christmas. Let's go Christmas Day. Game of Thrones. I'm not a Game of Thrones fan. I'm not sure if you watch.
I actually do fuck with Game of Thrones.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you've heard this news then that the House of Dragon show that's coming out is going to be released on August 21st.
Yeah, this has confused me so much because like a month and a half ago there was a big thing about how I thought that they were canceling and pulling the plug on a Game of Thrones
Really?
show. And so I was like, oh, well, it got off the ground. They shot the pilot, I read, and then that it was just like canned. And I was like, okay. And I had forgotten all about it because that was it. And then I just saw like the House of Dragon. It's coming out in the August
21st, yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? I thought that this thing got canned. So I need to do more like research into it to know what's really going on, because like it went from literally being really hyped to then like it's not happening to like, oh, they shot it and it got canned to now they have a premiere date. So I don't know what's going on. I got to get my Game of Thrones in line.
Well,
now, apparently so.
It's coming out August 21st.
I'll be watching. I'll watch it. So.
Cool. Keep everybody updated. Yeah. We'll keep everybody updated in case they decide that it's fucking done again in shit can.
Yeah,
but August 1st is the day so far.
Yeah, it's been very confusing for me. So I don't know. I got to look into it.
A big news about Netflix, I'm not sure if anybody has read this, is that Netflix is doing a trial of this. I'm not even sure how they're doing it. It's got to be some type of...
I think they're going to do it like they do like for Spotify Family.
Oh, okay. So...
Go ahead.
So the news is that Netflix is going to try to stop people from sharing their password. So if you are like myself and you purchase Netflix and you have the top account or whatever for the pricing is, and you share it with your mom and your dad, your brother and your sister, and your in-laws, Netflix is trying to put a stop to it. They don't want you to be able to share that password, which I understand.
Yeah, it's one of those that's like, I want to argue against it, but like business wise and everything, like I get it. Like it's tough.
Yeah.
It sucks because I totally get it. It shouldn't be this way, but like they have every right to kind of do that too.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where it's like
I don't understand how it's gonna work.
So this is what I was gonna say is
Yeah.
because I thought the same way, had the same reaction when I read about it. I was like, well, how the hell are they gonna pull that off? When you do like a Spotify family plan,
mm-hmm.
the only way they can get on the family plan is they have to be under your Wi-Fi when they accept the contract. So like you send them this link to join your family plan, right? And if they're on like data or you're at a bar and you do it, it'll reject it. You have to be under the like IP of the owner when you join, so you're part of the household.
Okay.
Now, the downfall of Spotify is once you're linked up, you have the account, you can go anywhere, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Netflix, I feel like will keep looking for that direct link.
Okay.
Of where you're at. Do you know what I'm saying?
But
yeah. I don't know.
What happens if you're fucking babysitting at somebody's house and you want to log into your shit though? Like,
that's
oh man, I forgot to log off at my parents' house.
I don't know if it'll literally be like devices. Like now, instead of sharing passwords, you can log into X amount of devices with this account. So if you log onto a TV downstairs in your whatever, you only get 2 logins or whatever. It's synced up to those TVs, and you have to kick one off to link on. I don't.
It's crazy that they're doing this shit.
It's crazy
though.
Like,
I'm like,
I don't know, man.
Like we said, we understand why they're doing it, and us as the people who are sharing or stealing somebody else's fucking password, it's gonna affect us the most. But at the same time, they're like, oh, we gotta keep upping your fucking price because we need to make more content for you. And I'm like, motherfuckers, I didn't ask for red notice. I did not ask for that shit. Don't make me more red notice.
I mean, if you're gonna hate to hear this, but you want to know who you really gotta be mad at. This is all Disney's fault. If Disney isn't as good as Disney is, Netflix doesn't have to put up the pressure like it is now.
Yeah, I guess
produce
so.
The amount of content it is and making the moves that it's doing, because Disney is just becoming literally the fucking Thanos of the content world, where they're just going along picking up every motherfucker that they can. So,
yeah, I guess I see that.
So your boy Disney is the one to be looking at,
which is interesting because that's my second to last piece of nerd news. So April 18th. This is big news for me and my family, or my family and I, because we go to Disney once a year, sometimes twice a year. We just got back in January. We're going on a cruise in October. And as of April 18th, meet and greets with characters comes back.
Nice, that's huge.
It's fucking gigantic because when we went in January...
Especially with little kids.
It's not even just little kids, dude.
Well, but...
Not even just little kids. I cried when I saw Mickey Mouse... And I couldn't hug him. And I cried when I saw all the characters. I'm like, you're right there. You're in my grasp. I could almost reach you, but they distance themselves.
You are a nerd.
Oh, yeah. But this is fucking huge because we go on our cruise in October. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to hug me. I'm going to fucking push kids out of the way to see Mickey Mouse and give Mickey a hug. And
Maddie's going to be so excited to touch Mickey Mouse that he's going to get banned from touching Mickey Mouse.
They'll be like, he does not touch him.
Keep this guy away from you.
Yeah.
Sir, we're going to need you to back up.
I am excited, and so is my family. We told the girls, and...
No, that is big, though.
The girls were like, wow. So Sam was like, oh, so we're going there Memorial Day? I'm like, no, I'm not going there for a fucking day to hug Mickey Mouse. But we might do one thing in June. We go to Devin's wedding in Florida in June, and we were like, oh, we're not going to go to Disney World. And now we get to hug characters again. I'm like, I haven't hugged a character since 2020, since 2019.
I haven't hugged a character since fucking 2008.
Man. So I'm like, I need to get a Mickey hug in. My last piece of nerd news relates to our subject, which is Spider-Man, and that's that Kirsten Dunst did a interview with Backstage Magazine. I'm not sure what she was promoting, but she was asked about being in the MCU, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I know, I'd love to join that multiverse. Please put me in it."
Duh. No shit. Everybody wants in on this,
and
man.
This is cool because this is, spoilers, everybody. If you have not seen No Way Home, Tobey Maguire is in No Way Home. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is in No Way Home. So that's why Kirsten Dunst was asked, would you want to be in it? And she said, of course. Nobody asked me, so that's big news.
It is. It is.
Well, like, I know that Emma Stone was even. I guess Emma Stone texted Andrew Garfield because sorry about that, spoilers. But Andrew Garfield is also in No Way Home. But Emma Stone was at.
I think Emma Stone has a better shot than Kirsten Dunst. As weird as that is, because Emma Stone died. Spoilers if you haven't seen Amazing Spider-Man. But I do think you got a better chance of her getting in than Kirsten Dunst. Because I don't know how prevalent Toby's going to be from going on out. And if you don't have Toby, you're not bringing back You're not bringing back MJ. You aren't.
No.
And so, like, we know Andrew Garfield wants to be in the fold of all of this, which would bring Emma Stone right back in because people loved her as Gwen.
Yes.
So, like, and that's such a tragic ending that we would love to see an alternate universe Gwen get another shot. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, either way, bring them all back. I don't care. Sure, I'm down, man.
I'm sure. I know a lot of people probably consider Kirsten Dunst MJ to be like the fucking GOAT.
No, absolutely.
Just because she's the original. So I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
People will be excited for it.
If it makes sense to the story, bring them back. Don't be just bringing them back for like fan fodder and shit like that. Like, give us some reason of why they're back, which I feel like Marvel usually respects. So I'm cool. Bring her back. Call her up.
Let's do it. So that was my last piece of nerd news, and then, like I said, it transitions into Spider-Man. So we're gonna get talking about some Spider-Man movies. We're gonna start off with we're actually gonna start off with one little question here of Tyler. When did you get introduced into Spider-Man? Do you know? Like, can you pinpoint when you?
Yeah, I think like a lot of the early 90 kids my age is like the Spider-Man cartoon.
Oh, the animated series?
Yeah.
1994.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That was probably because that was right around all your other X-Men and all that kind of shit that was always on that would just kind of roll all morning.
Pretty much.
So
between Batman the animated series and X-Men animated series and shit was hot.
And back then too, like superheroes were popular and hot, but like not like today.
No.
So you really only had a couple superhero cartoon legit like series running, and Spider-Man was one of them. So it was hard to not be like a Spider-Man guy because that's like what all the and there's always been Spider-Man merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Spider-Man sheets when you're growing up and pajamas and all that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So
I'm thinking of like, did I have them? Yes, I did.
That's what I'm saying. Like almost everyone has because it's just marketed to kids. It's that thing. So I've been a Spider-Man fan for a long time. One of the first like graphic novels that I got into reading, like more than just the first like 2, but like really like got into like 6, 7, 8 of the series was Ultimate X-Men, and around the same time I got into Ultimate Spider-Man.
Ah, okay.
Like full blown, like really into the comics. Like I need to go get the next, graphic novel book.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man, and that's where I really fell in love with Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say Spider-Man is... this would be a hard question. Yeah. Would you say that Spider-Man is like your favorite Marvel character? No, he's not your favorite Marvel character, but let's say... because I know it's Gambit. Movie-wise? For the movies? What do you say?
I think Spider-Man's...
Let's say MCU.
MCU, yeah, I do think I do enjoy Spider-Man. To me, I like certain aspects of Spider-Man's character a lot.
Yeah.
I think Spider-Man represents certain things, which I'm sure will come up naturally and we'll talk about a little bit here in a minute, that a lot of other heroes can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very specific of what he can, but he also can represents kind of a specific age range, but it's not just the younger teenage kid like that. He's kind of the adolescent teenager to young adult before you really figure out everything that's going on in life superhero to me. And that's always been really appealing with what he kind of deals with in his set of circumstances. And I think out of Marvel, he has one of the best like rogue gallery of villains. Like he's got a Batman rogue gallery.
He does. He really does. Yeah.
Where like Batman has these really iconic villains that have these themes and stuff to them. Like Spider-Man's right up there, and they're more ridiculous, but they're just as good.
I feel like
I'm a Venom guy, like Venom, and shit like that.
I feel like just like you had said, like Batman, people could name off and rattle off some names of some Batman villains.
Yeah.
I can't really do that with any MCU character
It's
other
very
than
hard.
Spider-Man.
It's very hard.
Spider-Man, I could
unless
name
you're
at least 5 off the top of my head,
correct.
5 to 6. You know,
and most
more.
people that aren't into like comic books and superheroes can still do that with Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's unless you're into something that's like Marvel. Like I could go all day long about like who's bad X-Men villains, but unless you're into that shit and reading that shit, it's like Fantastic Four. I can name you like 2 villains probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like Doctor Doom, like oh that's the one everyone has, and other than that, it's like you kind of think. You know what I mean? Unless you're really into Marvel stuff, it's hard to name their villains.
And I guess it helps that besides Batman, I think Spider-Man is the most movies of any other superhero character as well. So I guess it makes sense that people can name more of them.
It does.
Speaking about the movies, though, let's start with Spider-Man. So Spider-Man was released in 2002, directed by Sam Raimi. And fuck, this movie was awesome.
It was.
I mean, we're talking about all 3 of them, but...
Yeah, no. But Spider-Man 1 specifically, I mean... Even down to some of the cameos in Spider-Man 1.
Yeah.
You had fucking Bruce Campbell as your, like, scumbag wrestler, announcer, runner guy. You had the Macho Man, Randy Savage, as Bonesaw. You know, everyone knows, I got you for 3 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it's like little shit like that. It was all like, okay, this is a comic book movie. And, like, at that time, we didn't have many other comic book movies that had come out very recently.
No.
You know what I mean? Like there had been, of course, you have your old school like Batman movies that were coming out still with Kilmer and Clooney. Those were a little before. I think the first Fantastic Four was right around that time. Somewhere. Say
2002. I think Blade was right around that time.
You know what I mean?
And that was a like, way different. I mean,
way different beast. X-Men had to be right around there. Yeah. But other than that, like so, Spider-Man was the first like really hardcore superhero comic book movie that I felt where I was like, oh wow, this is like really like the comic books, but they're just trying to ground this thing a little bit. And Sam Raimi took that motherfucker, especially Spider-Man 1 and 2, and really did something special where I think we get that nostalgia hit. That's what kind of sucks for us. It's hard for us to talk bad about that one because I was the age that the guy in the marketing chair was like, well, we're making this movie for this kid that's going to go buy that toy. Like, yeah, I was that kid. You know what I mean?
That's
so,
right.
like, I was made for that movie in that time period. And, you know, there's a lot we can get to about, you know, this Spider-Man in general because they're all very different from each other. That's what's interesting about these Spider-Man
really are.
movies.
Did you have a favorite of the 3?
Of, like, the Spider-Man?
Yes. No, the Spider-Man.
The movies. The movies.
Spider-Man,
yes.
Sam Raimi.
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2? Mine too.
I think, dude, Doc Ock still show.
He does.
I mean, Green Goblin's Green Goblin, but...
And I do have a villain section. So the villains that are in these 3 movies, you got Green Goblin, we got Doc Ock, we get Sandman, we get Venom, and we get... They don't really call him Hobgoblin, but he's the Goblin.
Yeah.
And who is your least favorite out of that bunch?
I mean, I don't really even like to count when Harry like decided I'm gonna suit up and try to be like a goblin type thing because it was bad. I didn't like it.
Hot take, man. I like it.
Like I like the characterization and I like the thing, but like compared to what the other villains were and how they looked and everything, he just wasn't. Like I was at the point where it's like, let's just make this guy full blown Hobgoblin if we're gonna do this.
Okay.
Let's go Hobgoblin because I'm a big fan of Hobgoblin.
Okay.
I've always really liked Hobgoblin. So and I was always like, all right, I know Hobgoblin isn't necessarily like, you know, always interconnected as in like it's got to be Harry, you know, and all that shit. But I was like, you know, if you're gonna do it this way and turn him into a goblin and all this shit, like let's just full blown make this guy Hobgoblin, the extra goblin, and he was like. He's like goblin and a half. He was
lame in that portion. I think the thing that I liked most about James Franco's Hobgoblin, is that out of any of the other villains that they've had in these movies, we got to gradually see him become this character, and that his hate for Spider-Man and then his hate for his best friend drove him to be a fucking villain. And by the end, he learns to just accept it, and he has this moment of redemption that ultimately leads to his demise. And it was touching. When I rewatched this movie before No Way Home came out, I cried when Harry died. I was like, wow,
Well,
like this is incredible, you know.
That's one note that I do have is that the Harry Peter relationship is like miles ahead of any other movie. Is that is hit way more on the head in the original Spider-Man. And
maybe
I think
that's
drawing that than the other movies.
And maybe that's what phases how I feel about him, because I love that so much, their relationship.
It is. It's great
it
characterization. It's great arcs for both of them.
Yeah.
It's amazing over the 3 arcs. But like the villain itself, when you're taking the villain at like face value, like it's just he's the one that I was like, man, like
more than Venom.
See, that's what's.
You love Venom. I mean, you fucking wear the Venom shirt.
I got a little upset because it's just like it's that I actually like how like Venom looks. Venom, because like they gave him the symbol, they gave him like he looks cool, he looks scary, but it's just like Topher Grace should have never been Venom. You know, and I like Topher Grace, but it's just like one of those things like
it's one of the
he just should have never been Venom. And they wanted to make him literally like an anti-Toby, so they got a guy that was just like I get it, but when you know like what I know about Venom and stuff, it's like you just needed to get a big guy. That's all you needed, and it would have been good because the character itself is kind of cool and how they did the symbiote and the bells and how explaining all the frequency shit and like that stuff was all cool to me, taking it at character value. So it's like the opposite of the Hobgoblin. It's like I really liked Venom as a villain, but the Topher Grace angle was like, damn, you missed the ball there.
Yeah,
you know? So,
for sure. How'd you feel about Sandman? Did you like Sandman?
Sandman, I think that actor's great. I tend to like that guy in everything. He's one of those where I'm like, God, and he always plays like smaller parts, you know, but he's in so much shit.
Yeah.
And I liked his design. I loved that he looked like comic book Sandman. Like he had that green like stripe type shirt, you know, like. And then they kind of gave him an interesting, not interesting backstory, but they gave him they tried to give him a good.
Yeah, they put a twist on Uncle Ben.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they tried to give him, you know, something so he wasn't just, you know, the Sandman. Yes. You know, it's kind of a kitschy villain that can kind of become kind of silly, and they tried to do something with him, and I liked him. I did really like him.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty cool because they, you know, going back to, you know, the Goblin having his moment of redemption. I mean, Sandman had that as well, which made his character 10 times better because you saw that, you know, he wasn't doing anything because he was just being fucking malicious. He was doing something because he wanted his daughter back in his life, and he wanted his old life back, and
absolutely
he just falls into something that fucking makes him into a bunch of sand. And I mean, he may have been in prison for doing bad shit, but ultimately what he wants is just to be with his daughter. I guess we're working backwards here, so now we can talk about Doc Ock. Alfred Molina.
I mean, where do you want to start?
I mean, we both agree that was the best out of those 3 films, and yeah, fucking
Peter, my dear boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, he was the ultimate like mentor teacher who then like just Frankenstein the fuck out of himself and like just lost it, and like Peter, it was the ultimate of like. Toby's Peter has like 0 friends, and Doc Ock was like one of his like mentor friends, you know, and it was like, oh, this is great. And it's the one moment in film, like when you're little, that you realize like, oh, that's Dr. Octopus, and we know this is going south. So when you see that how good they get along, that first like 20-30 minutes of the movie where you're like, this is just all gonna go south real quick, and it does. It's very powerful, and you get someone like Alfred Molina, like that's a heavy hitter as far as like a dude who's been in the business a long
understands
time.
How to fucking be a character.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he obviously took this character and was like, yeah, I know what I'm going to do with this. Like, and again, they gave him that beautiful tragic story of like, he never wanted to be a villain. He's not a bad guy at all, but it was a bunch of, you know, a tragic loss of his wife, plus an obsession with his work, mixed with some malfunctioning neuroscience tech that he implanted in his neurosystem. Now you got a supervillain, you know, and I love Doc Ock. Which
eventually comes back to another moment of redemption.
Correct. Always.
Where he fucking saves New York in a way. I mean, it was Spider-Man there who encouraged or, you know, gave him that push to realize what he had to do to save it, or to not fucking kill himself and everybody else. But he's the hero of the movie in a way. He's the one that fucking took out that... The power of the sun. I don't even know what the fuck it's called. some science shit.
Yeah,
he took the science shit out.
He put it in the water.
Yeah. So yeah, he's fucking amazing. And then go back to we're going to Green Goblin now. So Willem Dafoe.
Can't leave him off the list by no means. By no means. And although I picked Alfred, number 2 is my favorite, and Doc Ock, Willem Dafoe. He set a bar where he set a new bar for actors that were going to take on supervillain roles.
Yeah, I can see that.
He kind of made a new bar where, like, okay, you can still be, like, silly and kitschy and all that, but you can't mail it in anymore. Like, and you have to take all this shit serious. And I'm not saying other people didn't, because you have Nicholson, you have, Danny DeVito. Those are all dudes that took their job very, very seriously. But then we also had, like, Tommy Lee Jones doing some crazy shit in Batman Forever. Jim Carrey, GOAT. Amazing at what he did, but like way different Riddler than what we see nowadays. Like, and a lot of movies were kind of doing that and kind of leaning that way and this way. And I feel like Willem Dafoe was like, okay, I'm gonna take the Green Goblin, which a lot of people know the Green Goblin, but they don't know the Green Goblin.
No,
do you know what I mean? Because they just know the guy flying around that's a creepy goblin. They don't really know Norman Osborn. So Willem Dafoe just looks like a goblin anyways. He has that creepy, like, troll, crazy theater kid look,
Say, Sam and I use a gif of him pretty often where he's like, he's got those evil eyes.
He's maniacal, man. And he's just perfect for it. And he, from him being, like, Peter's father figure in a way where he's, like, Peter's the son that he wished, like, Harry would be almost. Like, he loves that Peter is Harry's friend,
They're deep cuts too. Like rewatching that first movie, you're like, damn, like Harry's right there, dude. Like you're gonna do that shit to him, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's one of those, again, it's that franchise is built on just like super tragic like relationships just falling apart, and crashing and burning, and one becoming a supervillain and the other one just being Spider-Man always.
Pretty much.
But it's there's a reason why those two guys got called back.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reason.
Yep. Speaking of Spider-Man, fucking Tobey Maguire, man.
Yeah. Oh.
So at the time, I remember not knowing who Tobey Maguire was.
Same.
We're fucking children when this movie came out, and not really knowing who Tobey Maguire was. Watching it now, you're like, damn, he's way too old. He was way too old.
Yeah, they're all old. Flash Thompson, dude, is
Joe Manganiello.
Yeah, dude, like, that guy's like 35, dude. Like,
but no, fucking, I love Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker.
Me too.
I think he plays a very good Peter Parker, and it's he gives off that nerd vibe for sure.
He's my favorite, like, kind of loser Peter Parker. He, to me, really encapsulates that, like, that kid that's just too shy, that's just too smart to be cool, to just too nice of a kid to, even all his shots, like you meet him fucking like his uncle's like, hey man, our cool fun project this week's gonna be painting the fucking kitchen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kid that's hanging out with his uncle
So
painting.
sweet, yeah.
You know what I mean? And like he's missed the bus and he's trying everything to go run and catch the bus. It's like he was just that nerdy.
They make
like,
him out to
loser,
be that.
You know what I mean?
That stereotype.
And I love that. I loved how Toby kind of encapsulated all of that.
So speaking of Spider-Man, I do have some names here of some people who were supposed to be Spider-Man in that film.
I was going to say, before we kick that off, I'm going to hit you with a fact that I've shared a little bit about you, but I want the people to know of how the main reason Toby got the role.
Yes,
which
this is
ties
great
into
news.
what you were saying, but so as pretty much any movie in the early 2000s went, one of my favorite actors in the world, Leo DiCaprio, was approached to become Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Leo has always been a pretty staunch, like, I don't want to get into franchises, I don't want to do like, all that shit he's kind of turned down because he's always offered it. Him and Toby go back. They were on, like, a TV show as kids together for, like, one episode. And they became, like, actual best friends outside of the acting world. Obviously, Leo went to have on a bit of a quicker successful career than Toby did. And when Leo turned it down, he was the one that said, hey, you should, really look into Toby, because I think Toby, this is perfect for Toby. And I'm sure that they had already known about Toby and were like, had him on his list. But like, once you have
Once you have the person that you wanted to do it, say, hey, how about this guy?
Correct. That's how that shit goes down. You know what I mean? And so I do think, and so that's what, so I think it was a recent interview where Toby was like, yeah, thanks, Leo. Like, kind of, because I mean, after Spider-Man, Toby was like
on the map,
on fire.
On the map, yeah.
He was in so much stuff.
I don't even know when October.
A little bit.
I know he's in October Sky, and that was one of his first films, but I can't remember if this was before or after October Sky. But that was another big movie.
Jake Gyllenhaal's in that.
And Tobey Maguire, or is that Jake Gyllenhaal?
I think it's Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know. We gotta both look.
I'm now confused. I know that people.
He did Seabiscuit. He did Seabiscuit.
He did do Seabiscuit.
Won him some awards.
So some other people that were up for it was Elijah Wood.
Oh, I see that.
You see that?
Especially in that time frame, like Lord of the Rings, Frodo and shit. Yeah, absolutely.
Jude Law, which I don't see at all. I feel like he's way too old.
No, I could have been a villain though. Still could be a villain.
I could say him for as a villain for sure. Freddie Prinze Jr.
Interesting.
Which I feel like he's always played the same person.
You know, and I think I actually have seen an interview where he like wanted to be Spider-Man too. I'm pretty sure he like was into the idea of becoming Spider-Man and was like kind of mad that he didn't get in on that. I could be wrong, but I almost am positive that I just watched something recently now that you bring that up.
Interesting. I don't know if I could see him.
I don't really either, but...
And then the last person who should have, or who they were thinking about getting is Heath Ledger.
Interesting. Again, I mean, that's right around the time probably about 10 Things I Hate About You and all that shit. Like...
Yeah,
Knight's Tale and all that bullshit.
Yeah, 99 was 10 Things I Hate About You.
So and Spider-Man 1 was 2002?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So they were filming it in probably
correct.
2001.
So he was definitely on that short
2001.
list of like who is the younger, good-looking, not super popular guys, but who can we, So yeah, I buy 100%. I'm glad he didn't do it because we probably would have never got a Joker.
Probably not.
So
it'd have been interesting. I'm trying to think of how to do an Australian accent and say, "Hey, Green Goblin," but I can't do accents, so.
You don't pay me enough for me to do accents.
I do voices.
I have a fun fact about James Franco.
Okay.
While filming Spider-Man. So, when they're kind of like dancing in the living room, and he's like, him and MJ.
Yeah.
And he's like making omelets and shit.
Yeah.
So for that, they wanted it to look like more of like 50s swing dancing type things. And since he grew up a rich kid, the idea is that he would have like attended proper lessons to learn these things. So they brought in a 50s twist instructor to teach them how to do kind of a little dance to make them look natural.
Yeah.
And then he also went and they sent him to a culinary school for the day to learn how to make omelets. So he didn't look so it looked like he like was used to using professional rich like equipment and shit and like making omelets. I'm sure it's also James Franco was kind of a weirdo and like insisted on like I want to make this look real and all that.
Yeah.
But like I think they said that the way they were justifying it was that, Harry's comes from,
Which at the same time you could see that because in that scene, he does flip the omelet and it fucking breaks and it gets all over the floor. And I could see that as being more of a thing because if you're that rich, I wouldn't make my own fucking omelets. So
who knows? But he went to culinary school and they brought in a 50s twist instructor to teach them how to look a little natural while they were doing their little jig.
Okay. I like that. For sure. A behind the scenes that I have from it is that, so the scene in the very first film where we get to see Peter Parker use his spider sense is when he catches MJ as she slips on juice or milk or some shit in the cafeteria, and he catches all the shit on the tray. That was all done for real. There was no strings on any of the shit. There was nothing like magnets or anything like that.
That like blows my mind.
He caught everything, but it took 156 takes.
That's what I'm saying.
To do
At what point do you either go like A, like, all right, fucking cut this scene or cut this shot? B, like, all right, we just have to CGI this shot. Or C, like, because like, all right, you got to realize on a film set, you got your whole grip department that are like your dudes that are made to MacGyver shit on a go. They are the guys that make shit and come up with inventions and how to get cameras and lights to stick there when they're not supposed to.
Uh-huh.
So at like what point were these guys like, all right, dude, we're going to put some like stick them on the tray and we're going to do this and that to try to start making this process easier because like 156 takes of like trying something that you don't even know if it's gonna work for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like that would be hell. It's terrible.
I'd imagine by take 20, the fucking crew is like, this motherfucker better catch it this time.
Maybe, or it's just like literally like, all right, we're gonna go fucking take however long we're gonna take out there and chill until you guys fucking get your tray shot. I don't know, but props to them. It's a cool shot.
I wonder what take they ended up using. If it took 156 takes, I'm gonna assume that it was take 156 that they used, or if it was like if they got it in take 90. And they were like, well, maybe we can get it a little bit better. Let's keep trying. They're like, nah, we're just going to use take 90.
I don't think so. That's a lot of time to be taken up for one shot. It's a lot of fucking film. Bro. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Film is expensive, you know?
No, I think you get that thing, and it's like, oh, the action looks good. All right, check the gate. Clear. Good. Moving on, man. Fuck that.
Let's talk about the love interest. Let's talk about Mary Jane. How did you feel about her?
MJ. Love it. The theater MJ. Actress MJ.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked her. I like her for Spider-Man. It was one of those things that, like, Spider-Man loved her. Like, Peter Parker loved MJ, so I was like, I want him to be happy kind of thing. Because you root for that. You root for Tobey Spider-Man a lot, I felt like. I found myself when I rewatched these, like, you really do want to root for this guy because he does catch the sword under the stick a lot. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you want to see that guy catch a win. Yeah. And so MJ to him is always his, like, that's all that guy is ever going for in those movies. Like, everything revolves around her. So, I mean, I think she does the job. I think she's a good Mary Jane. It's, you know, and I'm sure there's Mary Jane lovers out there that are, like, going to crucify me. But, like, again, I don't read Spider-Man comics for, like, the MJ storyline. So, to me, it worked. And I felt like it was more classic MJ, where she's, like, into theater and that kind of shit and, like, dates the bully, and then they get out of high school, and now all of a sudden, like, her and Peter are kind of cool. Like, it worked for me.
Say, I don't know too much about MJ because I was never into Spider-Man comics, so I don't know her origin and shit like that and how close it was to the comic, but I thought she fucking sucked. Like, I watched this movie, I'm like, just get the fuck off the screen. I don't want to see you. Every time I see you on here, I'm just... It's not a Kirsten...
It sounds like a Kirsten Dunst thing.
It's not against her. It's more towards the writing. Like, whoever was the main writer of this film, whether it be Sam Raimi or, you know, other people, I'm like, why do you make me hate her? I feel like there's nothing to like about her other than the fact that, yeah, she has a bad upbringing, so I want her to be successful and I want her to be, like, the underdog of the story. But I'm like, I don't fucking like her. There's nothing about her that I like. She likes Harry. She doesn't. She has a thing. She has a thing for fucking Peter, but she doesn't want to tell him. So I'm like, everything that you.
I liked her because Aunt May liked her.
Okay, you think Aunt May has a good judge of character?
Oh yeah, Grandma Aunt May, dude. Yeah, dude, love it, dude. How can you not, dude?
So we can talk about Ben and May now too. I'm done shitting on Mary Jane. So
I think to be fair too, though, like, again, these are before the superhero movies really were the superhero movies that we got today. It was just like us talking, you know, on the side about Batman Forever, about like, God, Dr. Chase is in this movie a fucking lot for no reason. So I do think it's really before, like, main female characters started getting, like, more of an actual love and treatment and how they deserve to be, like, you know what I mean? They were just, like, she was clearly just supposed to be the love interest for Spider-Man, and the thing to be like, oh, well, Spider-Man has to get involved because she got her ass fucking caught in a parade with pumpkin bombs going around her. You know what I mean? Like, so I do think, and now you don't see that shit in scripts. Like, now characters are characters, and females, males, they try to all give these characters arcs, especially in comic book movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, to defend her a little bit, I think you get a little bit of that with the script writing and things like that, where they were kind of like what I said, where they were like, well, we're making a Spider-Man movie, we just have to throw Mary Jane in there but
pretty much,
you know, because I mean, look at, like, that Mary Jane versus, like, a MJ in, like, you know, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, you know, which we'll get to, but, like, it's a totally day and night on, like, characterization, you know what I mean?
For sure, I see that. How did you like Uncle Ben and Aunt May?
To me, they feel most like comic book, like Uncle Ben and Aunt May to me, like old, like like, hey, Michelangelo. You know what I mean? Like it was just like those were, to me, that's kind of who
They really are straight out of the pages.
You know what I mean?
Off the fucking pages,
Correct.
right into the movie.
Correct. And they act like even after Uncle Ben passes and Aunt May has like a lot of moments with Peter where they're those really good like Aunt May moments of, make sure you're doing the right thing, distilling, his beliefs back into him and things like that. I love, like I said, I call her Grandma Aunt May because there's so many Aunt Mays and shit like that now, but like it's hard to hate the OG when they like pull them right off the comics,
I liked her better than Sally Field.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
So, yeah, they were good. One of my favorite things about these movies, about the Sam Raimi movies at least, was the Danny Elfman score.
Yes,
I have that in here just because I just want to show some fucking love for Danny Elfman.
I agree.
He did a great job.
I agree.
I could listen to that score probably from beginning to end. That soundtrack, I love that soundtrack for the first one, the second one. I don't know if I remember too much of the third one, but I don't even know if he did the third one. I'd imagine he did, but
yeah, I'm sure.
I loved him. So if you could be bit by any other animal, creature, insect to get their powers, what would you want to be bit by?
Fuck. Insect or like animal, insect, anything?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer? Did you think of an answer?
I tried to, and I'm like, I had this conversation with Sam, my wife, for listeners. I was having this conversation with her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sure you'd pick like a wolf or a lion because those are my favorite animals." And I was like, "Yeah, but with an insect, you get like the strength, you get the senses, you get the jumping, you get the web, like Spider-Man." I was like, "With a lion, you just get like strength, maybe?"
That's when I was sitting there, like my favorite animals by far are sharks, but I'm like, all right, so turn into a shark. Kind of cool, but like,
my answer to Sam was that I'd like to be bit by Kevin Costner from Waterworld, so I get the gills and shit. I'm like, that's not an animal, but it's a strange answer that I thought was fucking funny.
Yeah, I don't. This is when I wish you would have been like, yo, by the way, I'm going to ask you this question. So you might want to think about it a little bit. Because like,
I don't know if this is a 2 on the spot question. Okay.
This is one that like, by the end of this episode, I'm going to try to get you an answer of like, what I'm going to keep it to insect. Because if I let anything come into this, it's going to be too hard for my brain. So
She said hippo.
A hippo?
Yeah, she's like, I want to be able to go underwater for like 30 minutes, come back up. She's like, they're fucking strong.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's her answer. That's
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's cool.
I'm glad she was able to get an answer within fucking 7 seconds
that is
of
cool,
me asking.
but it's like, what the fuck do you do with that, And I get it. Like, it's like, what do you do with spider abilities? So it's like,
he fucking made
you climb shit.
You become Hippo Man, dude.
Yeah, I guess. But like, you're gonna go like just like fucking patrol the shorelines because that's like where you're most dangerous is in the water. So it's like,
yeah,
if they come fucking 35 feet offshore, you fucked.
I guess if I had to pick something right now, I'm going fucking stung or not stung. What the fuck are those? The
like June bugs?
No, the ones that roll into balls.
Oh, roly-polies.
When you touch them. Yeah,
I don't know what they're really called.
Yeah, I say roly-polies as well.
You can fucking flick those things for 7 miles.
I imagine that
they're like the insect armadillos.
Yeah, I'd be able to get a fucking tough skin, and I'm sure they could lift some heavy shit as well. And
yeah, probably. I mean, I do think it would be kind of cool to be like a yellow jacket or something, like one of those bees that like can fly, but also like things that are like a million times the size of you are definitely afraid of. Like humans are scared as fuck of like yellow jackets.
Oh hell yeah!
Like if I could fly around as a tiny insect and like have the abilities to induce some fear, like I sound like I'm just gonna be a villain if I get bit by something. So it's probably best I don't end up with these insect abilities.
Probably not. Let's move on to The Amazing Spider-Man. So, Amazing Spider-Man came out in 2012. It was directed by Mark Webb. Mark Webb made 2 films, Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2. How did you feel about these movies?
The movies in general, I wasn't a big fan of. I was a little upset because the design and everything that they were showing and story actually was like, all right, they're doing Ultimate Spider-Man. That's
okay.
what the comic. It's like the Ultimate Spider-Man comic, and like I was like, I'm in. Like this is what my favorite run of them, and just something about it. They fell short. Like the CGI looks really cool, and like a lot of the fighting looks really cool, but in general, the movies just I don't know if it's the writing or what, but they don't do it for me. But I really fuck with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Okay.
And I think out of all the Spider-Mans we've gotten, he's the one that's cared most about playing the role. And he wanted this the most.
I can definitely see that.
I will take you down memory lane. Do you remember when he, at 2011 Comic-Con, do you remember they were doing the Spider-Man press run before it came out? It was in 2011. Mm-hmm. And he dressed up as Spider-Man and went into the crowd and did the panel and started making the speech to the Spider-Man panel, and he pulled off his mask and it was him, and everyone started freaking out. It's like a fucking 5-minute long like monologue that he goes on to, and you can tell he starts the monologue trying to act like a geeked up like comic nerd at Comic-Con asking a question kind of thing, but it really turns into like a love letter to Spider-Man and like how much Spider-Man meant to him and how much this role like he wanted.
Okay.
And the fact that he's being able to be at this place amongst these nerds like him and be Spider-Man is something like he'll always be grateful for kind of thing. And this is 2011 before he even started. So the fact he got like cucked out of his third movie, like, because that just went to shit. He was supposed to do Spider-Man. They were supposed to do an Amazing Spider-Man 3, and that movie just went to shit after the second one. And like he always got fucked out of it because no one. I know people that don't like Andrew Garfield, but I don't think anyone was like he's the reason why these movies are bad. He is the sole reason.
No, definitely not.
You know what I mean?
Definitely not.
And like that's you know what I mean. Like I know there's a lot of people that don't really like him as Spider-Man or have their issues with that. My problem was he wasn't a good Peter Parker. He was way too cool as Peter Parker. He was for me. He was way too good looking and way too cool. Like for Peter Parker for me.
It was like so. How I feel about him as well is that I thought he was an all right Spider-Man. I thought he was an all right Peter Parker. Instead of being the geek that didn't have any friends, he was more of the outcast. Like he was just
I think he had the best quips as Spider-Man. I think
he had the most
mask,
as well. I can't remember the numbers, but he had the most quips.
I think in the mask, like when he was talking shit and fighting and stuff, it felt the most like Spider-Man video game to me. Like when you're playing the old PlayStation game and like talking shit while you're fighting, I was like, this feels very right to me.
Yeah,
like,
and I think the problem was that where Tobey Maguire was the nerd as Peter Parker, he gained confidence when he was Spider-Man, so he had that change. Whereas Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker to Spider-Man to me was almost the same.
I buy that.
So which is odd to say like that I didn't like that because I feel like Tom Holland's Spider-Man is the same Peter Parker as well. Like he's the same person. But I like it.
Oh, I love it. Well,
so
let's just
yes, I just wanted to
I
just wanted to hit on that point because I do feel like he's the same kind of outcast. I love the scene where where his Spider-Man is helping the firefighters put out the fire, and he's got the fucking firefighter helmet on, and he's got the hose, and like that's cool. I fucking like that. I love that scene, but that's also probably what he would have done as Peter Parker. So I just, he was good.
Yeah. No,
and that fucking, I mean, the scene when Gwen dies too.
That's what I'm saying.
Rewatching it now
rips your heart out. Dude.
I was like, I cried.
I
cry for a lot of shit. Though.
I remember tearing up like when she was falling because I was such a Spider-Man nerd. I was like, oh well, you know, I know how this kind of goes, you know. But it's still that idea of are they gonna have the balls to do it?
Oh yeah.
You know, like, and she was. Emma Stone's a huge name actress at the time. Like she was very big. You know?
Emma Stone. So it's like I don't think she won the Oscar yet, but
no, but you know what I mean. But it's still like
for sure.
They're gonna kill her. You know, they could easily do whatever. You know, and then the way it happens too, where it's like it happens so quick and it's so close, where you're like, did he get her?
Yeah.
Did he get her?
I remember seeing,
and you're at that point where you're like, I hope he got, like, she's all right, she's good, and then it just like doesn't change, and then like he just goes through the ringer of like he's very good at looking upset, Like Andrew Garfield is very good. Like when he has those crying eyes, like you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god. And then like having to like basically like report to her dad and like be like, it's all on me, like all that.
Well,
kind
no,
of
he
shit.
doesn't have to report to her dad in that movie.
No, I'm saying like the weight of the dad with that whole thing. Like
Absolutely,
like
because he kept saying like, I'm going to stay away from her because
correct.
This is what's going to happen.
That's what I'm saying.
So when he leaves there, he's like, if I would have just fucking listened.
Correct.
If I would have just listened.
That's what I'm saying.
She'd still be alive. She'd be here.
Report to him, but like the whole idea of like the dad was so prevalent into like that whole dynamic of the
I know what's gonna happen if you keep
and
going.
He just didn't listen, and it just like he paid the ultimate price, and it's
Yeah.
just and she was a great Gwen Stacy.
She did a great job, yeah.
So it's like, damn, it was tough to see her go. But again, it's like those are some of the like that shit needs to happen in movies sometimes because it's like those are the characters you don't want to die or go, but like those are the ones that like when they do go, those are the ones that hit you and stick with you.
Yeah, I agree. Something that I did like. Or actually, I'm going to hit up on the Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So some of the people who were up for the role of Spider-Man for this movie was Michael Cera.
Oh, that would have been really interesting. I don't know how that would have worked out.
I mean,
he's a hell of an actor, but I don't know. It would have been weird.
I picture Michael Cera from Juno and just that awkward person.
I see him in like This Is the End getting his ass eaten in the fucking showers, dude.
Sippy time, yeah. As well as like, okay, so he could do Scott Pilgrim, like, but
I love
even Scott Pilgrim, I'm like, I can't see him as
Spider-Man.
I can't see him as Spider-Man.
Yeah, no.
Zac Efron was up for it.
Would have been a good choice.
I'd have been cool with it.
He would have been cool.
He's fucking hot, so I'm cool with it. Daniel Radcliffe was up for it.
I see that too.
I could see it for sure. And then Robert Pattinson. I don't see him.
When did Twilight come out? That's the cue.
Yes,
You said before
it
or
is.
Twilight.
Well, Twilight came out when I graduated high school, 2008. So that was the first Twilight, was 2008.
So that was before Twilight. So that would have been like what put him on the map. Oh wait,
this is 2012.
Is 2012.
Yeah, so he probably made the first two.
So it makes perfect sense why he was up for it.
Yeah,
but I'm glad he didn't.
Yes.
I don't know. We would have got like a brooding, dark like Spider-Man in a way.
It may have taken him out of the fucking that whole at the time, being not typecast, but there was like a typecast type thing going on
that would have killed his career. Going from one franchise to another.
Maybe.
And the Amazing Spider-Man didn't pan out as well as everyone was hoping it was going to anyways.
So
that would have been a tough one. Because Andrew Garfield went to the fucking theater scene, man. He
Yeah.
went back to the theater scene. He was like, I'm done with this for a little bit.
In a way,
now he's just king of fucking everything again.
Yeah. He really is on top of the world right now. Getting fucking nominated for...
But like I said,
Tick, Tick, Boom
talented as fuck. Deserves it all.
Absolutely.
Super talented.
This movie, or the first film, has one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos. I don't know if you had a favorite Stan Lee cameo from the Spider-Man movies.
It's tough, dude. It's one of those where like all the Stan Lee cameos like blur together for me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I like can see him in so many of them, but it's like, God, what movie was this? What movie was that?
Okay, so Amazing Spider-Man 1 is where he's the librarian and Spider-Man and the Lizard are just fucking up the library behind him, and he's listening to his headphones so he doesn't see.
Yeah, he doesn't see anything.
And I was like, I love it. It's such a good scene. I don't know if you had a favorite one or not.
I don't have one off the head. I'd have
off
to think.
Yeah, you'd have to look them up.
I know one of my favorite Stan Lee's. It's not a Spider-Man one though.
Let me guess.
You're not gonna guess it because it's like a movie no one really likes or no one really.
So it's Daredevil.
No.
X-Men.
Hulk.
Oh, it's a good one.
I think when he's drinking the drink, dude.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he gets like the poison drink that you follow for the like intro credits.
Yes.
Like the one bottle.
That's a good one.
He drinks it and all of a sudden you just pass the fuck out. Yeah. I love that.
I dig it. So something that I did like about this series as well was the direction that they were going with Peter's dad being alive.
Cool take.
I thought it was very cool as well.
Something new.
It was something new. It was something that you weren't expecting, especially now. It makes me think about these MCUs the MCU Spider-Man. I'm like, we haven't really touched on the fact of his parents. Are they actually dead, or
Other
did
than
they
that
leave?
briefcase that he had for like that one point. Oh no, that's Stan. That's the second one.
Yeah,
that's Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, so I'm
all
like,
this shit blends together.
We haven't really. I don't even think they've actually
really talked
touched
about.
on Uncle Ben.
No, they haven't at all. Because
I think they said since Ben left is what Tom Holland said. I'm like, so he could still be there.
He's got a hot aunt, so it's just a normal ass dude who was like probably married to his aunt. Then they got
probably,
you know what I mean?
But yeah, so that's something that I wanted to bring up just because I was like, man, when they showed that scene or showed that he was alive at the end, I think it's a deleted scene or is it in the actual movie? I don't even remember now. I know I've seen the scene.
You're talking about, though.
I know I've seen the scene because it's at the grave site and his dad comes up behind him and you're like, what the fuck is going on right now? But I thought that was very cool. We haven't talked about the villains of these movies yet, so let's work forward on this one. So, villain from the first film is Lizard, the Lizard
Man.
Yeah, Rice Ifans, and
love the actor.
Yeah,
love Dr. Connors.
Yeah,
is actually in the original Spider-Man as well. There's a Dr. Connors, a one-armed doctor. When he goes to college, he doesn't ever become a lizard. But
I thought you were saying Rice Ifans.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
It's another famous. He's like a semi-famous actor. I can't think of his name. He's been in a ton of shit. But,
I know what you're talking about.
So I have a feeling that he was supposed to be in the third one.
Okay.
And that something fell through.
It had to have been some type of
But I think they were because he shows up in the second movie. So that's what I thought. Like, oh, okay, Doc Connors, because he had no arm. He had
because he's the one that tells
Peter he's cutting class. He's like, you need to like put your priorities straight, because he's like Peter's working or what, and like doing all the Spider-Man shit, and he's the one that's like, yo, if you want to like pass my class, you need to fucking.
He hooks him up with Doc Ock, right? Yeah,
because he's trying to get Doc Ock, because he's trying to get him like he's like, why don't you meet someone that by yourself you could be. Like
God damn, that movie's so good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, it was set up. The third one's really where they just lost traction, you know?
So, the Lizard.
I do really like... I like him as a villain. I think he's a cool Spider-Man villain. He looked okay. I mean, the whole, like, plot of, like, I'm going to turn the city into lizard people type shit, it's like...
It was weird.
It's weird, and, like, it sucks because it gives off too much of the trope of like New York City, like, oh, they got crocodiles in the sewers type shit. Like that whole movie just feels like we're gonna turn New York into like living crocodiles in the sewers myth type thing.
Yeah,
it's just kind of weird.
I think the design was slightly flawed because it was
very
like a
human-esque,
humanoid fucking lizard. Which I mean, I get it. He's walking around with a lab coat. I think the thing that threw me off the most is when he talks and he still has his British accent. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? This is fucking stupid. But, yeah, he was all right, I guess. And then you get into the second movie, and the first villain that we're introduced to is actually Rhino. He's not Rhino yet, but you're introduced to Rhino when he's stealing this shit. And
that one's a bit of a tougher one for me.
Yeah.
It's now in the same light, it's like, okay, how do you do Rhino? Put him in a big suit. Not totally against that. But like Paul Giamatti is this weird like Russian type. It was a really weird thing, and they didn't like commit to it fully.
Yeah.
He was very thrown in there, and like it was clear. That's the problem with this Amazing Spider-Man. They have the perfect idea of they were the ones that were really like, okay, we're gonna try to set up a Sinister Six movie. Mm-hmm. That's what you could tell that they were doing with those movies. And then it just fell apart. So they were like, all right, we're gonna introduce Rhino, we're gonna get this going, and it all falls apart where it just was not a fan of Rhino in Spider-Man. It didn't do it for me. And I like Rhino too.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's a cool character.
I didn't even know he was a Russian dude from the cartoons, from the animated series.
Yeah,
so when Paul Giamatti starts fucking around,
I think in the comics he's Russian. I could be wrong, but like in the cartoons and shit, I'm pretty sure he's like just like a hardcore Brooklyn guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's just got like a hardcore New York, like big, like just tough dumb guy type accent. Yeah. You know? So I mean, hey, what? It's a choice. It's a choice.
Another one of the things that brought that movie down. So the next villain would be Electro. How did you feel about Jamie Foxx's Electro?
Not very happy. It was okay. Like the look, I was excited because it was very much like the look from Ultimate Spider-Man. Like I was saying.
I didn't even know that.
It's the idea of like blue, like electricity guy.
Oh, okay.
Not so much like a guy stuck in like a suit.
I had no idea that was based off of that.
And he has, like he still is a guy, but he can kind of turn more energy-ish and shit like that. Yeah. So I was excited for that, and Jamie Foxx was like coming off a heater in that era of movies as well too.
And he seemed excited to do it at the time.
Very excited to do it. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be really cool. But then again, it just like that Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 just like, it just didn't deliver.
No.
It was bad.
No, it wasn't. And I'm cool with the fucking villains getting like power and completely changing, but I felt like for his character Max that it was just
it was weird.
It was very fast. I'm like, because he's talking in Times Square to Spider-Man, and all of a sudden he just fucking flips because somebody accidentally goes to shoot him, and he disintegrates the bullet. But it's like, chill out, Max.
Yeah,
relax, dude.
It's a little kind of over dramatic in a sense.
It is,
and I don't know. It's again, the fights are kind of cool. The CGI and shit like that is pretty fucking cool. But like in general, it just. But again, it's hard to. Like, all right, make a superhero movie and make him fight lightning. You know, it's like it's tough. I understand why. Again, he got a hell of a fucking redemption in
No Way Home.
Yeah, like that's
which we'll get to that as well.
Yeah, but I think that's how you really can do like an Electro. But
how did you like Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin?
Fucking terrible, horrible.
I had high hopes for it because
fucking
I like Dane DeHaan. I think he's a decent actor. Yeah. And then it was a huge letdown.
It was like a leprechaun. He was like flying leprechaun. Again, it was like Ultimate. I loved Ultimate Spider-Man because that was the first time they turned Green Goblin into a real like monster. That's when they started doing like the actual Goblin was Ultimate Spider-Man, which now you see it done quite a bit, but it wasn't just a dude in a suit. It's like a beast.
Okay.
He turns into like a monster goblin thing.
Okay.
And that's Ultimate Spider-Man. And
because that's more into the Spider-Verse then, because the Green Goblin's under...
That is that Spider...
Okay, because I was very confused by that. We'll talk more about that later on.
And that's a way better example, because that literally is like Ultimate Spider-Man. Green Goblin, it's a guy who injects himself and he becomes a fucking like beast. Like an actual monster.
Cool.
And I always loved that in the comic books. I was like, that is so fucking cool. I love that. Dane DeHaan was just like a weirdo on a glider, dude. Like it was super, super weird, and it was like they didn't want to commit to him being like a Green Goblin. They didn't want to commit to him being like a Hobgoblin. It was just like
just because he's hairy, he kind of got the title of like I guess you're Hobgoblin.
Kind of like a leprechaun. It was just very weird, and he wasn't very threatening to like. And their relationship was nothing like the Peter or the Harry and Peter of James Franco and Tobey Maguire. So you didn't really give a shit that they were like kind of at ends a little bit and stuff like that. Like he's my least favorite villain by far in the Amazing Spider-Man. I'll put him over Rhino.
Really?
I put Rhino over him.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really did not like that.
So it sounds like if we had to pick one of these two to be the best of the two, we're probably going with the first one.
Of the movies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's not by much because we still didn't care for it.
Yeah, but I do think the first one was pretty good. Because I remember seeing the second one and being like, damn, they're not going to make more Spider-Man movies. Like, I was like, like it was like, damn, I knew that this isn't, So,
and then the last thing I have is we didn't talk about their Ben and May. How did you feel about Sally Field?
I don't remember Ben.
Michael Sheen?
Michael Sheen?
Or is it Michael? No, it wasn't Michael. Yeah, it was Martin Sheen?
Martin Sheen? Was it?
It's Sheen.
Oh, it's one of the Sheens. Then it's definitely Martin Sheen's the dad. You have Michael Charlie Sheen.
It's Martin. Yeah, so it's Martin Sheen. Yeah.
See, I totally forgot about that. I feel like they're not as prevalent in his movies.
No, they're not. I mean, May is a little bit more, but
like I remember Sally Field's May.
Yeah.
But like I don't. She doesn't stick to me like Grandma May.
No, definitely. Not.
Like I can't really.
It's gonna be so hard for me to not call her Grandma May. So I'm not. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be calling her Grandma May forever now.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, like, I couldn't really tell you a scene they really had, other than, like, I guarantee you, Ben said, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Other than that, but I know that just from lore.
You can't even picture who fucking said it.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So, like, they really just did not stand out to me that much, other than, like, I still can see old Uncle Ben, Grandpa Uncle Ben, dying on the pavement. I can see his face, and, like, literally.
Even that scene was a sad scene, dude.
Oh, it's so... Dude, how he gets wrapped up into, like, framed for murder because the guy trips out the window. Like, that's fucking crazy. Like, Spider-Man... God damn, man. Fucking 2002 Spider-Man knew what was going on.
It did. So I guess that'll segue us into we're gonna call this. I have it Spider-Man Home, but I think we're just gonna call it MCU Spider-Man. So MCU Spider-Man came out in 2017, and it's directed by John Watts. John Watts did all three of the Spider-Man films, from Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, and they're good movies. I'm not sure how you feel about them as a whole.
They're very good.
Do you want to hit which one you like the most? I mean, it's...
I know for sure. I don't care for the second one, really.
Neither do I.
The first one I liked a lot because they took a villain that I thought was one of the lamest Spider-Man villains there were, and they made him terrifying.
Okay.
Vulture was fucking terrifying in the first Spider-Man movie.
So you said that he could have been one of the weakest villains, but then they brought, do you think that it's Michael Keaton? Did Michael Keaton, if they would have casted somebody else, do you think it would have been as good of a character for you?
I mean, no, obviously no, because Michael Keaton's Michael Keaton, but at the same time, they gave us a cool version of Vulture.
They did.
He had a real legit place of why I'm fucking a bad guy now, and it's directly because of the Avengers and the fucking Shield coming in and just taking that guy's
all the shit
fucking life work from him, his company. And it wasn't so much of a vendetta one. It was more of the dude was a normal ass construction guy. So I had that blue collar working family in me of man, the man's fucking this guy, and this guy's just trying to do that. So now you're turning him into this because he has no other option, kind of thing,
Yeah.
And one of the best twists of all time when
he
goes to pick fucking her up for prom, and Vulture opens the door and is like, "Oh, hey, Peter." It's
Peter knows. Oh, yeah.
Literally, when they're driving in that car, I felt like I was 15 again when you're driving with your girlfriend and her dad. You know what I mean? And you're just I hope this guy just doesn't talk to me because I'm just do not want to be in this situation. So scary, dude. And the Vulture suit was fucking dope as hell.
It was cool.
It was all fucking mock airplaned up, and they made a joke about the Shocker in the first one. I'm the Shocker, which is a lame ass fucking villain.
Man, on a technicality, I didn't even put that villain down. Yeah,
but that's one where, because again, it was he's always a bullshit villain that starts a robbery and then Spider-Man beats him right away. Even in the video games, that's what happens to Shocker. It's a joke, and so the fact that he was a joke of the first Spider-Man movie was really funny, and the Vulture was it was a very cool, scary character.
Yeah.
A tidbit about Tom and getting this role, which he's talked about this. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this clip, but when he auditioned for the role, he found out he was auditioning and then was reading in front of all the guys within a week. So he had very little time to kind of prepare, and he was reading when they got there. He had an audition with Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. was who his first people were with to read with for a chemistry test, and he was told the script said Spider-Man flips in the screen because it was the scene from
Civil War, yeah.
And, Spider-Man flips in, takes Cap's shield, blah, blah, blah. And Tom Holland was reading it and was like, it says Spider-Man flips here. Should I just flip into screen? And they were like, what do you fucking mean? And he's like, they're like, no, we'll, do, stunts and wires and stuff. And he's like, oh, well, I can flip. Because he has ballet training and he's got all this stuff. So, yeah, they said, we threw, a crash pad down just in case. And he just, literally, they were like, action. And he just started it off as the flip. And then he walked in and said his line. So it's shit like that, which brings me to another point of, the reason I think Tom Holland does so well, not only because he's, a young Spider-Man, so you can buy that teenage, hanging out with the big boys who are clearly older Marvel characters, his physicality fits so well to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You see him in behind-the-scenes stuff of, yes, he's using wires and stuff like that, but you guys don't understand how hard that still is to do. When I did the Man-Bat shit, because I, for the fan film Man-Bat stuff, I did all the wire work for Man-Bat. And, just to hold yourself in, a plank position and flap your wings, you got guys that are pulling you on strings, but you still have to be, engaging your core and, keeping yourself... there's so much work that goes into it. And you see Tom Holland without ropes a lot of times, hitting a trampoline and flipping and landing. And it's you don't realize, he's making that look so easy and how, most normal actors cannot do that. They have to set up a whole rig or they got a CGI or bring in a stunt guy to do all that. Whereas Tom Holland's like, oh yeah, I can do that 6 times in a row, 6 takes. You know what I mean? Like, the fact he can bring that to a role is extremely, extremely, extremely beneficial. And I think it shows 100% because he's comfortable doing these movements where they're not stunts, so to say. He can walk into a room and be like, oh, well, I feel Spider-Man about this and that, and move a certain way without having to, like, block it out, so to say.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's cool to know.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I wonder if, have they released that footage at all?
Of what?
Of him doing the flip into the fucking...
I don't think so, but he's talked about it on quite a few, like, roundtables. There's a big roundtable with, like, all the heavy hitters from Marvel and, like, Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau, and they're all just kind of sitting there talking, and Tom Holland's one of the ones getting interviewed, and that's the story they're kind of talking about, the beginning of it all. Because he was saying, too, like, he met Robert Downey Jr.'s stunt guy and thought it was Robert Downey Jr. And he's like, he met him and was like, person, he does kind of look different, you know? It looks like him, but he looks kind of different. And then fucking really Robert Downey Jr. came over and was like, hey, what's up? I'm RDJ. He's like, oh, fuck, dude. That's your stunt guy. Because stunt guys look kind of like you. That's the thing. So, yeah. So it's been talked about. I don't know if they just released footage of him filming the No Way Home highway scene.
Oh, okay.
Like where Doc Ock first attacks. And it's cool. It's all green screened, and he's like mocapped and shit. But again, it's a bunch of little trampolines they have set up, and he's just like jumping and flipping around everywhere.
Oh, nice.
And it's just his own gymnastic abilities that are, you know, that they're kind of relying on, and it's kind of incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fucking way to go for him.
Yeah, that's why he sells it.
Yeah, I love his Peter Parker. Like I said earlier, like he compared to Garfield, who, you know, is kind of an outcast, and he kind of has some type of charisma to his Peter Parker, but he keeps it with his Spider-Man. I didn't care for that. It didn't seem like it separated Peter Parker from Spider-Man, and Tom Holland's Peter Parker does the same thing where he doesn't really separate. I don't really see a separation between his Peter Parker and his Spider-Man, but I fucking dig it, and I love it. He's a big fucking nerd, and he's a big nerd as Peter Parker, and he's a big nerd as Spider-Man.
I think one of the things that helps them is they put him in like extremely like gifted high school.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of helps, because now he's not like this nerdy smart kid. He's a kid in like a gifted smart school that almost like doesn't fit in just because of like other reasons, not because he's smart, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I don't really understand what the Flash of this universe has against him. I'm like, you're the same fucking dude.
Exactly. He's just a more popular version.
Nerd.
You know what exactly.
You're a popular nerd.
And so that's what I think kind of works, because it's just more so of like, he's just not the same as ever. It's not like he's getting bullied like Tobey Maguire's getting pushed in lockers and shit. You know what I mean?
Which, I mean, some people would say that that's not what Peter Parker's supposed to be like. So I can see why they.
I think Flash Thompson should be way more of a big like. Bully guy, because like, you know, he actually has some character development if you look into him. And
absolutely.
Like, you know, things like that. He becomes people and things like that. Mm-hmm. So, it's whatever, but it works for them. It works for them. I like Ned as a friend. I do really like Ned. I think Ned is a great best friend.
He's such a good actor.
He's a good actor, too.
I can't remember his name.
Well, that's
Jacob.
The thing. They're all pretty good actors. Like even the teachers that they have are like really funny.
They are.
Even because like I said, I didn't really like the second one as much, but it still has some really funny moments and really good character development.
There's good scenes, whereas I don't like it as a whole. Versus Homecoming has good scenes, but as a whole movie, I enjoy Homecoming very much.
Feels like a straight up Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
It is like telling a Spider-Man the whole rise and fall, and then at the end of like, dude, when he's like trapped on that rock and just like yelling for himself and has no one to help him, but like where he's just pep talking himself of like, come on, Spider-Man, you got to figure it out, and then he has to lift that it's like, that shit was so Spider-Man to me. It's like, oh my god,
it was cool.
Like,
it was badass.
And when he's the hero, when he gets the suit taken from him, and he's still gonna go do what he has to do because, you know, he thinks the suit makes him, but it doesn't make him at all.
Yeah,
like that shit. What I will find incredibly funny, which will segue us, because I know I brought this up to you when I saw No Way Home and you laughed. Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Every one of these movies, the reason Tom Holland is in all of this shit and Spider-Man's in all this shit is because he has nothing but extremely irresponsible adults that surround him. I'm not kidding. It starts with Spider-Man Homecoming is the only one where I'm like, all right, that one's okay. But it starts with, like, after Civil War, like, Tony Stark really shouldn't be letting Spider-Man have just free range of a goddamn super suit and just running around with it. But if he's going to, because he helped save the planet and all that and put child mode on it, like I said, the first one's the only one I will give because he actually comes and shows up and says, hey, you're being irresponsible with this fucking thing. I'm going to take it away now. Cool. The second one is all built around these fucking glasses that Tony Stark has just decided, all right, well, I'm dying. Give it to the fucking 15-year-old kid who then just takes them and goes, well, I'm really, really trying to get laid for the first time. So, like, why don't I just give these to you, Doc? Because you seem like you got your shit together, man. And then he gives them to the villain who knew this the whole time. And I was just like, and all of this is happening because Nick Fury was like, yo, we need you to get involved in all this. And if you don't get involved in all this, like, that's fine. And then they leave and he goes, all right, well, we're going to reroute your entire field trip. So now you have to be involved. So now he's putting everybody, all of his friends' lives in danger. And I'm just sitting here watching this like, what the fuck is wrong with these adults, man? Like, granted, is it the real Nick Fury?
No,
Watch
it's not.
to the end. It's not, but still, it's like, what in the hell? Who is just signing off on all these fucking things when we all know, like, Peter Parker's a wild card to begin with. Like, he's not the like, this is definitely a wild version of Peter. He's not some, like, church boy. You know?
I don't think he's so much a wild card as he is just uneducated and just juvenile. He doesn't know.
Correct.
He doesn't know any better. So
but that's my whole point. It's like, so why are we giving this kid the key to the Lambo?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then you have the third one, which is, I mean, again, I love so many things about No Way Home, and I'm very excited to jump into this movie and talk about it. What the fuck is Doctor Strange doing?
I said the same fucking thing.
Movie writing, I get it, movie magic, whatever.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, you're gonna tell me you have spells that can do all this crazy shit, and all it takes is a 16-year-old kid to walk in and be like, man, they're really fucking up my social game, dude. And like I can't get into college and shit. So like, could you just do this, and that? And then he does it, and he's also supposed to be this great wizard, and like a 16-year-old kid interrupting him is throwing his spell process off. Like, one or two things: tell Peter, get the fuck out of the room, or two, why don't you do what you did at the end of the movie where you're like, hey, are you sure you don't want these guys to stick around? Why didn't you just have a 5-minute conversation?
Just those two guys right down there, right? Just those two? Yeah, fuck it, we're cool, man.
Why didn't you have a 5-minute conversation before you started the ritual in New York where you went, all right, you want to do this, okay?
Yeah.
Who do you want to still remember you? Boom, let's do this.
It's a conversation.
The fact that, Doctor Strange just went, I feel bad for the kid. I was kind of a loser in high school, too. All right, come here. Come with Uncle Strange.
Let's go down to the man cave. Let's go down to the man cave and
then
get this shit going.
A fucking hole in the multiverse, dude.
Yeah.
It starts. It's just like Doctor Strange. What in the fuck are you doing?
100% Doctor Strange's fault.
But again, movie magic. You gotta get the story started.
Yeah.
I'm glad he did it because we got some wonderful, wonderful things. But I'm not gonna stand for that movie. Like 100% because I have to point out. Doctor Strange. What in the fuck were you doing, bro?
Would you still say that No Way Home is your number one out of those three?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Easily. I'm going to backtrack a tiny bit.
I didn't want to jump too much into that, but we just went on Doctor Strange, so I had to go in.
So, the possible Spider-Man I wanted to let you know about. So, Logan Lerman was up for the role of Spider-Man. I don't know if you know who Logan Lerman is. 310 to Yuma. He's also in Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Exactly who it is. Yep.
I could see him doing it. He might be a little too... they say like resting bitch face, but like resting dick face is how I see. Like he's just got a mean mug to him, as well as Timothy Chalamet. He's the main actor in the Dune movie that just came out.
Absolutely.
Which I'm like, I think he's too much of a skinny bitch to do it.
No,
I don't know. I don't know if he could have bulked up for it, but yeah, he can act. He's a good actor. And then Dylan O'Brien. He is in those Maze Runner movies.
Yep, I know who you're talking about.
As well as Teen Wolf, I believe.
Yep.
which I could see him doing.
Any of these kids are unknown enough to me where like I knew them just as much as Tom Holland. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like the fact they presented me Tom Holland as Spider-Man, I was like, oh yeah, this kid's a good Spider-Man. If they would have done that probably with any of those kids, I would have been like, okay, you know what? As long as they had the acting chops, I probably would have bought it. Just because also I was so used to seeing older Spider-Man, and this was a clear like, this kid's these are kids, you know, like this is gonna be a young guy.
In Civil War, because Civil War is when we first see Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He's actually 18 years old.
That's what I'm saying. That's crazy. Which means he was probably auditioning when he was 17 or 16. Like, you know what I mean? So like
versus like Garfield and Maguire were
20s easily
in their mid to late 20s already by the time they were doing this
Garfield was probably halfway to almost at 40.
God damn.
Or not Garfield, Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, for sure.
Old man.
How did you feel about Zendaya? So talk love interest.
Love MJ, dude.
Okay, so I didn't care for her in the first two films.
The first one, I was like, this is MJ or whatever. Like, okay, whatever. I really liked his girlfriend, actually, in the first movie.
Okay, yeah.
And when she moved away at the end, we're like, fucking Vulture's dad or daughter. When he moved her away, I was like, damn, she's not going to be in the movies anymore. I actually kind of liked her. I thought she was going to be like new MJ. And then when fucking she was like, yeah, you can call me my initials, MJ or whatever, Mary Jane or whatever, I was like,
I thought it was cheap as fuck when they did that. Okay. I was like, ugh.
But then I was like, okay, I get that they're going to set it up for, like, she's going to be the new thing. I do really enjoy how, like, by the second one, I actually loved how she was like, yeah, you're Spider-Man. Because, at first I was like, I hate how everyone in this universe is just finding out that, like I hated after the first one when fucking Aunt May... Like, first when Ned found out, I was like, whoa. How is his best friend finding out he's Spider-Man, like, that way? He just, like, walked in the room. But this is always shit that I've asked myself as a nerd watching, like, what happens if, like, one of his buddies just walks in the room and he's chilling in his Spider-Man costume? You know what I mean? They did this in this movie. And in the second one, MJ's like, you're Spider-Man. He's like, no, what? I'm not. She's like, I'm not fucking dumb. Like, you disappear every time that something goes on, and it's like... Finally, someone's saying it out loud, and it's kind of funny. And I kind of like it. So I enjoyed that aspect of her where she was like, she's very smart, but also like 1,000% down. Like she loves like Spider-Man and like loves what Tom Holland kind of stands for. Like it's cool.
I thought she was just there and okay in the first one, and then in the second one, I was like, okay, I like her a little bit more. And it wasn't until No Way Home that I was like, all right. I fuck with Zendaya. I get what everyone's saying about her now. I'm on board.
Fantastic.
Give me more Zendaya. I want more of this.
Yeah.
Because I really liked her in No Way Home. Let's talk about the villains of this fucking... This one's going to be hard because we're going to go a little bit more into No Way Home now.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're doing this episode is actually because... So No Way Home is available right now for digital download if people want to watch it. But it comes out in Blu-ray on the 12th. But yeah, so if you're going to wait to watch this movie, this is probably going to be a more heavily spoiler area because we're talking about this movie that's on a technicality not available to everyone. So
true. But it has been out a while.
There
was a lot of buzz about it, so we do feel confident. I mean, we talked Batman fucking a week after that came out.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things
this came out in December.
If you haven't seen it, it does come out next week. Or, you know...
The 12th.
The 12th.
Yeah.
And you can see it then, so you can, at this point in the episode, if you want to hit pause and come back to when we really jump into this, you certainly can. But we're about to dive a little deeper into No Way Home specifically, because I think there is so, like, out of the three, there's so much that goes on in No Way Home, and that they took risks on, and that the risk paid off.
Yeah.
And it's... The first two are great, and I don't want to just brush those to the wayside, but No Way Home was a different beast.
It was.
It was a different beast, man.
Yeah. So, this No Way Home is like Marvel's best unkept secret.
Yeah.
I feel like everything that I expected and thought was going to happen with this multiverse shit did happen. We got to see characters come back. We got to see all three Spider-Men on the screen. And holy shit. You saw this in theaters as well. Did you see it opening weekend?
Yes, I saw it opening night.
You saw it opening night. So was your crowd as rowdy as my crowd was?
They were pretty good. It wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be, but it was a pretty good crowd.
Did you cheer and shit? Or are you a quiet?
I'm more of a quiet
Okay.
movie guy. There were a couple parts where like I
couldn't help it.
You get that deep, like, yes. You know what I mean? That like,
yeah.
oh, yes. And I do know that I didn't like, not tear up, but that like that your breath gets taken away when Toby. Like I knew that these guys were coming.
Yeah, you knew. Yeah.
But and then you see Andrew, and they have a great scene with him first, and they actually are talking to him for a while, and then that second fucking portal opens.
I didn't think they were going to deliver us Toby right after. I thought it was going to be a tiny break.
And I was going to this movie thinking like, we're going to get like 5-10 minutes of these guys. They're going to team up at the end and fight, and that's what it's going to be at. They gave so much service to each of these characters that like wasn't just like, all right, we're going to throw a bunch of characters in there just for like nostalgia reasons. Like these guys were all developed and helped move the story along.
Yeah.
And
they were in the entire third act of the film.
When that fucking hole opened up and that normal ass Tobey Maguire just steps through and it's just like, hey guys, like, I just stepped through this portal.
Yeah,
like, and then he turns around and he's like, oh, it's gone. And it's just like, oh, that's my Spider-Man, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like from a kid, it's like,
absolutely.
And he looks beaten, he looks old, but he's still got that look of just like pure Peter Parker.
Yes,
like,
he does.
Innocence, like, and it was like, oh my God, dude.
This was me in my seat the entire time. Like, I went to a theater that had reclining seats. Didn't fucking use them.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that.
There was I don't want to jump the gun on your sheet, but there was a cameo in Spider-Man that physically...
Go ahead, jump it.
My buddy next to me...
We'll go back to villains.
I saw this on the internet that they was teasing that he was going to be in it, but I didn't know where or how much, so I was still very excited. Mm-hmm. But when fucking Matt Murdock shows up their costume, Charlie Cox Matt Murdock, which is the actor from the TV show, which is starting this whole thing that we talked about at the beginning of the episode, my buddy next to me, I remember audibly, Bub, shout out Bub, was like, holy shit. Like audibly, like, did not, because it's something you don't even think about until all of a sudden he's sitting
Because you just
there.
see the cane, right, is what you see first?
That's the first thing. You hear him, like, people talking at a table, and then you see that cane, and you're like, he just got out of jail. There has to be one. There's only one person that could be. And then it's Matt Murdock. And then to add to that, he fucking catches, like, the brick that comes through the window.
Yes.
And it's like, how the hell did you do that? He's like, I'm a really good lawyer. Like, oh, my God. Matt Murdock.
So hot take here. Would you have been okay with it if it was Ben Affleck?
Yeah. Because I actually fuck with the Daredevil movie.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't.
I don't think it's as bad as people say.
It's not Ben's fault. It's not Ben's fault. It's no one's really fault. It's a great interpretation of the Kingpin.
Yeah.
Love
Michael Clark Duncan.
Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin. Amazing. Yeah, straight up. Amazing, dude. Bullseye. You know, dude? Dude.
It's fucking Penguin, dude.
Dude, that's what I'm saying, man. I want a bloody costume.
Yeah.
Like, dude, love it. I would have been cool with it, but
no, I know you like the show, but
Daredevil, like the show and all that, like this is what I've been. I mean, I'm scared for it because I think he's way too violent of a character for how he's already been portrayed to now try to dumb him down a little bit.
Okay.
That's what I worry about. Like, I don't think they can do this with John Bernthal Punisher. They have a shot of doing it with Daredevil and pulling it off and it being okay. But even him, it's like, it's night and day between what these guys get into, which is why I want to get into Moon Knight more. Because they claim that Moon Knight's supposed to be a little bit more aggressive.
Violent, but within the MCU's guidelines.
Correct.
Of aggressive and
still,
violence.
Like, pushing it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this is going to kind of set the bar of what to expect for, like, new Daredevil. Because I know what old Daredevil's bar is.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not...
that's an interesting
MCU bar. So that makes me very nervous. But he plays Matt Murdock. Charlie Cox plays Matt Murdock so well that, like, it's just like, if it's not broke, do not fix it.
Yeah.
Like, it's perfect.
That's an interesting take because
that's what makes me nervous.
I didn't even think about that that aspect of it all, dumbing down the violence.
It's taking a literal R character and now putting him in a PG-13 universe.
Interesting.
So
okay.
it's like that doesn't always transition. Like I said, Punisher, I think they're gonna have a hell of a time doing that when they try to do it. If they do, Daredevil, they have a better shot at it because he is more kind of hero-esque. But like you watch the show, like it's brutal.
Okay.
And he's a brutal guy.
Hot take. I like it.
It's yeah. So that's my worry.
Something to look out for.
Still, seeing him in a Spider-Man universe, it's that idea
Yeah.
of like, okay,
we're gonna get this team up one
let's
day.
go.
One day
Like,
we're gonna get it.
They're doing everything, and then
Yeah.
you know they actually explained multiverses fairly well in a way. Like they didn't spend a ton of time on it, and they didn't make it super complicated. They're kind of just like, yo, it's magic. We got magic things that we kind of do, and things are fucking falling apart, and you're breaking spells and breaking this and that. And we have an ancient relic that is on the fritz, and it's like, okay.
And we have a wizard.
Because that was my whole thing.
We have a sorcerer that
they're gonna have to sell me on multiverses, and like, because we've never seen it live action.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and I've read a million comics with multiverses, but for some reason, it's always easier to buy it on the comic page than it is when you're watching it. It's just easy to be like, oh, it's a different universe, whatever.
It seems like in a comic book, you have to accept it for what it is. There is
Correct.
no questioning it. But when you have 23, I don't even know at the time, so 24 movies under your belt, you're like, you have to do some addressing here of why it wasn't there before, and now it's all.
And that's what's amazing about it too. It's not something where I think like The Flash is going to be, where it's a multiverse movie where they're trying to fix a bunch of mistakes that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like they were like, yeah, we've been building this fucker for 20 years. Like, and now it's just coming together perfectly. And it's just because they picked the right things to hit on, the right things to talk about and not talk about and bring in. And then they just centered it all around like, all right, we'll just ground it with Tom Holland being the one that has to kind of actually deal with all of this. And it's awesome. It's so Spider-Man, man. Like, it's so... The amount of loss he has to go through and the amount of moments of, like, you got to step up and be the dude. Like, even from the fact of Doctor Strange fucking up... Like, again, this is all on Doctor Strange. Do not give that man a pass. Fuck that guy. He fucks all this up and then goes, hey, Peter, here's a special fucking suit. Go zap him and we'll send him back. Done deal. We're good. And Peter's like, well, you kind of fucked it up and got him here, but you also saved them from death. Like, we can't just send them back to die.
Yeah.
And he's like,
great.
the fuck we can't. Like, they're villains. Like, this isn't our stuff. And it's a very adult thinking. But again, Peter's a kid. Peter's young. He's naive. He wants to always do the right thing. So he's the one that goes, well, no, they're here. Like,
let's help.
We're going to try to help them.
Yeah, we're going to help them out.
That's
Maybe
what
they don't have to die when they go back.
Correct.
We could change them. We could help them for the better. And it's all inspired by fucking Aunt May.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, opposed to not opposed, but compared to the last two that she was in, has a lot bigger of a role. And it seems like she probably has the same amount of screen time, or not much more, but she does a great job. Marissa Tomei does a wonderful job conveying what it is to be a hero more than just fucking fighting bad guys.
Correct.
To Peter, enough to have it resonate in his fucking mind that no, I can't just be the guy who saves
and what's
by
interesting,
slinging webs.
100%. And what's interesting is she's the one that remember, he's the one that doesn't want to get into any of this, and she's like, this is what we do. Yeah. And not saying like heroes, but like this is what, like Parker's, like this is what we do as good people. You know what I mean? And I saw a clip of this of like there's like 3 times throughout the movie that someone specifically to Peter says, this is what we do, or someone says that. Mm-hmm. And the other big one is when they're in the lab testing the equipment, and he's like, well, if we're going to save all of them, he's like, I think I can save Osborn. He's like, I've been thinking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
And he goes, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, well, we got to save them all. This is what we do. And now he's talking about Spider-Man. And then at the end, he stops him from killing Green Goblin. He says, this isn't what we do. And it's the idea of all these Spider-Mans have this fucking morality pillar in them because of Aunt May and Uncle Ben from their universe.
Yeah.
And they grew up with the same thing that now we saw through Marissa Tomei, but these characters experience too. And so they're all the same Peter Parker, and they all have that attitude. And like, it's like, that's the writing that's like, God, this is beautiful, man. Like, this is...
It really is.
Like, because they're, again, 3 totally different Spider-Men. totally different, but all perfect.
They are.
In their own way, and they feel like this coexisting thing where it's not just fan fodder or forced. It's like it literally all feel like versions of each other that like feel for each other, and like them getting in like the compliment wars with each other, where it's like, you're amazing. He's like, oh, I needed to hear that. He's like, no, can you say it? Like, can you say it? Or like he's like, can I crack your back? That kind of shit. Like that kind of shit. It's like, oh man, this is very Spider-Man. You know, and it's just it's gonna be very hard for them to replicate anything like that. That's the problem.
Yeah, it definitely set a bar for Marvel films going forward of like, how the fuck do we replicate, not even replicate, just come close to the level of, not expertise, but the level of fucking storytelling that they did in this movie. I feel like more than half Marvel films kind of fall apart in the third act. And where this movie does get a little more complex in the third act, it still holds it all together. Like, No Way Home has consistent excitement and emotion and story, versus like Far From Home or Homecoming have this wave of like, okay, now it's exciting, now it's gonna go back down a little bit. And fucking No Way Home is across the board pretty entertaining.
It is
the entire fucking time.
It is,
and it's I challenge the MCU to fucking try to do it again, because it's a fucking fantastic.
Well, the thing is too is something that you can't get was, we had things that were being written in this movie that were paying off on shit that was set up 20 years ago. So like that's something you can't do just in a story. That's something that they capitalized on, a natural real thing. Like when we get to see Doc Ock and Toby on, like when he turns around and just is like, Peter, my dear boy, you've grown so much. It's just like,
how you doing? Trying to do better.
You know what I mean? And then
I fucking cried at that part.
Dude, the time I literally like tears were like, I was like, I can't, this movie is when Andrew Garfield saved Zendaya. It was like, and he gives her that look of like, are you okay? And then she's like, yeah. And he just starts losing it, because it's like he realizes like, I finally did the one thing I failed at the worst, but it still hurts just as much because it's not Gwen.
And she asks if he is okay.
And then she asks if he's okay. And then he's like, yeah. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
dude. Like that type of shit is stuff that happened 10 years ago that now they're paying off for. In those moments, that's the type of shit where it's like, oh my God, dude. Like
that scene,
I wanted that so bad.
Yeah.
And you get it. And that's so rare that happens.
So I was like, I couldn't even fucking hold back tears in that scene, and my fucking shoulders were like this, sobbing. I was like, if anyone was looking at me, they were like, that guy's a bitch.
It's tough, man. It was one of those moments where it's just like, oh, motherfucker, dude. Like, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're just spoon-feeding it all to me. Dude, even the dramatic, like, Toby stopping fucking Tom from stabbing Green Goblin. Like, it's so overdramatic, but it's like, this is the shit we want to see. It's like two Spider-Man looking in each other's eyes like, dude, you don't got to go down this path.
This ain't us.
Like, I've done this.
Yeah.
I've gone down this road, and, like, it's broken me. So, like, we don't have to do this for you. And that's what's kind of cool thinking about it, and it just kind of hit me now. It's like, the two things that really fucked up both those Spider-Mans, which is, like, I'd say Peter getting Norman killed. That, like, really fucked him up. Even though he didn't really kill him, he just jumped out of the way of the glider that he was trying to kill him with. But, in turn, it got Green Goblin killed.
Yeah, I mean, it affected his friendship and
that fucked everything
yeah.
up for him. And then Gwen dying fucked everything up for Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
And those two Spider-Man helped Tom Holland prevent both those things. Both the biggest downfalls of their characters, they helped prevent in the new Spider-Man, which is kind of cool.
It's so weird because a lot of No Way Home seemed like fan service. Like, they were just trying to make the fans happy. And they did, but it fucking
But
worked.
It still was good. Like, it all made sense. It was good. Like, the characters, they revamped a lot of the characters' looks. Like, Electro got a totally new costume.
Yeah, which, if we
like it.
Let's talk about some villains.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. That's, I know where we started, but like, we're getting back there.
Okay, so let's talk. We're gonna talk. So who was the villain of the first one? So we talked about Vulture. We already hit on Vulture
and a Scorpion cameo.
The second film was Mysterio, Jake Gyllenhaal, and
weird.
And he was good.
It was cool
I
and good, but it's just like a weird
take on the character.
It's kind of like how like when they first did the Mandarin, and you like build a villain up, and then like it's like, oh, but he's an actor. It's like, oh, but he's still a bad guy. But like I'm getting like series of unfortunate event vibes from this dude now.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just like was really weird. But it works. It's one of those things. It still works, and I think he looked cool for Mysterio. Like 2020.
Oh yeah.
Mysterio looked really cool.
It seemed pretty accurate to
and like the whole idea of like him being a magician and a special effects type dude, like which is very much in the comics what he was into. Like totally cool. So, but like again, it just I don't know, that movie in general. Just for me, something in that movie, it just doesn't.
It seemed like a movie that just needed to get to the fucking last scene of, hey, Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. And to get him and MJ like actually dating.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Mm-hmm. It didn't need to be there. So then we would go to the third movie, which is loaded with villains. Some of them we already touched upon. Some of it's confusing because... So, Doctor Strange's spell is that it brings people in from the universes that know that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and we don't get them all. We don't get James Franco's Hobgoblin.
But that was the thing, was like
Dane
the idea
Dahan.
Was like, the way they kind of explain it is like, it seems like either, because Doctor Strange shuts the spell down, you know?
He does,
like shuts it down.
Yes.
So the idea is like, oh, a few slip through. I want to say that's how they preface it. He's like, a few of these guys must have slipped through. But then at the end, it's like you have the whole debate of like, oh shit, it's all about to break.
Yes.
And then everyone's coming through. So it's that weird multiverse type shit. It's the same way I feel about like the end of Loki. Like the show Loki is like, because you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
It's like when all the things are just merging, and it's like, well, once we get here, everything's coming through. It's like, okay, I guess this is... It's confusing. But again, if in your storyline you're like, yeah, we're justifying this from magic, it's like, okay, well, anything kind of goes at this point because it's magic.
Yeah. How the fuck do you think Venom got into this fucking thing? He don't know that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, right?
This was a few... I can't... I think it was Jordan or Bob. One of them was like, this is my big problem with this scene. Is because I was like, oh, it's kind of cool to see him, I guess, and whatever. It's a perfect way to get Venom in the MCU now. Not Tom Hardy Venom.
Yes.
He'll never be in the MCU.
I fucking hope not.
But the Venom, the symbiote being left there, great fucking way of getting
the symbiote into this universe. Yes.
You know what I mean? And to also now, what I think should happen, they should just bring Andrew Garfield back and just start having him with Venom and those guys.
You know...
Because it's still Sony, it's still Spider-Man, it's all that. Because Tom Holland's MCU. They worked a deal out with Sony, but Sony's never going to own Tom Holland.
A lot of people are on this fucking...
And I know it's getting a bunch of like push right now.
Yeah.
But I think it'll help those fucking trash movies because none of them have been very good.
I don't want them.
But I wish
they would
be happy with him.
I wish they'd leave Andrew Garfield's shit alone. I wish they'd leave Toby's shit alone and just keep moving forward with Tom Holland.
Yeah, but well, that's the thing though. Is like I'd rather see like if they're gonna keep making all these fucking movies, these one-off movies and Spider-Man Sony type shit. I'd rather see Andrew Garfield get introduced and go back in with all them versus force Tom into that bullshit.
I could see
like
that.
I'd rather have Tom steer clear of all that shit. And if they're going to force a Spider-Man into it, bring Andrew back. And I think he'll actually service that shit and make it better. But I think if you force Tom into all that, it's just going to get... It's just about... Now they're relying on Tom to help their kind of subpar franchise movies. Because they shouldn't be making solo movies of B villains anyway.
No.
That's what's killing them.
Yeah.
Like Morbius is getting killed, not just because of...
Have you read the spoiler yet?
No, I've read a couple things. Let's not talk about it right now.
You just brought up fucking solo villains. I just want to touch on this real fast. Right, yeah. Did you read the spoiler or anything like that?
Well, I've read a couple things. I don't know what you're hinting to.
Like the actual like plot summary of everything that happens. Like, have you read any of that?
I've read, like I said, I know a couple things.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's garbage. You just know that's garbage.
The whole movie. Okay. But that's what I'm saying. Is like, regardless of how badly it's written or the acting or whatever your gripe is like, he's a B super hit villain.
Yeah.
in a rogues gallery full of like bigger names, and it's like, well, why isn't this movie popular? Because he's not popular in the fucking comic book.
Yeah, it makes me nervous about the Craven movie that's coming
Well,
out.
that's
too.
what
I'm like,
now I have zero. Like I was so pumped for that, and now I have zero hope.
Aaron
So,
Taylor
like,
Johnson. I'm like, I like Aaron Taylor
I agree.
Johnson.
But yeah, now I'm not excited at all because it's just I'm tired of these one-off.
They haven't filmed
Fucking
much
things.
of it yet, so I hope they may have learned their lesson with Morbius and say,
I don't know.
let's either pull the plug now or fucking get this thing a little bit better. So we do have. You did bring up Electro earlier, and you like his look.
I like his new look, especially when he like did the suit and the electric made like the star kind of like look. That was badass.
But it doesn't make any fucking sense for the story for him to be this way unless he came from a different universe. How did he turn from a fucking blue guy to a normal?
Well, that's what he said. He woke up and he was like, "Fuck, I got skin again," and that was the whole thing. That's what didn't make fucking sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I thought it was kind of dumb. It was something that I wasn't willing to accept, especially when he asks Kurt Connors, or does Kurt Connors ask him? They know each other. They know each other, so they exist from the same world, as well as the fact that Andrew Garfield talks to both of them and acknowledges, okay, we're from the same universe. They know who they are, but Jamie Foxx looks completely fucking different. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Because they killed him with blue. Everyone hated Blue Electro.
Well, yeah, but you can't just.
But
I feel like Jamie Foxx was like, I'll come in, but I ain't doing that shit.
And that's
again.
probably what happened.
And I was like,
too.
you fucking. Which he didn't need to be in the movie.
No, he didn't. But
neither did fucking. Neither did the Lizard. Neither did Sandman. Neither of them needed to be in there.
But that's what they need. They needed. No, Sandman definitely needed to be in there. But they needed some fucking Andrew Garfield villain in there.
I don't understand why they were able to fucking bring these characters in and use their old footage from the movies. Like Sandman's footage is the shit that is from the third movie. I will post it on this video of the clip from Spider-Man 3.
I think a lot of people were saying that shit and stuff too, but I think they came in and recorded as well. Because I looked into it. I think so. I would look into that. One of us will be wrong in this, but I'm almost certain that both of them recorded, not like shot with them, but they at least came in and did like green screen and voiceover work.
They're credited? Definitely not green screen. Why the fuck would they keep Sandman in sand form the entire time if he was on there? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean?
Why was Sandman in sand form the entire time?
Well, yeah, well, no, that's because they definitely, but like...
They couldn't get Thomas Hayden Church? He's fucking too busy? Like...
Who knows what the fuck they're doing?
That was disappointing. Like, they were like, fuck, we used all the budget on Andrew and Tom, or Andrew and...
And that could be it too. It could
then
literally
just fucking take the goddamn person out of the movie. I didn't need him.
That's not how it works.
Fuck. You could have brought James Franco back.
No. That Disney's not putting him in a fucking movie. Are you kidding me? That's the last person that's going to show up in a Disney movie.
They could have brought Dane DeHaan back.
No.
Redeemed his character. They could have redeemed... If they could redeem fucking Electro, they could have redeemed Dane DeHaan. They could have brought anybody back and just been like, okay, you know what? We're going to make him better now.
I will say, though, Electro, he had a lot of funny lines. He was a good for punchlines.
He did.
Yeah, dude, like when fucking...
For comedic purposes, I guess that was his only purpose of being there, I guess. I didn't need it.
Yeah, well, you don't need a lot of the things you got in that movie, but you got them, dude. That was the thing. It was fan service. And again, this was a way to get them, like, they got him his original costume. They got him in his fucking original OG looking, like...
It was cool. I'm not saying I liked the look. I just don't like the fact that... And this is just my take on it, that Jamie Foxx came in and was able to fucking puff his chest and say, I'm not doing it, is basically what I'm getting from it.
Yeah, but you can't.
It's kind of bullshit.
That happened.
No, I don't.
But at the same time, too, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Of like especially from an actor's point, if I did something and got dragged through the fucking mud for years, and now they're like, oh yeah, 15 years later, we're just gonna write you in. Some magic's gonna drop you back in here, and we're doing overhauls of this, and that. I'd be like, yeah, change my look. I don't want to be the fucking blue guy anymore. Like I don't know, man. Like it's. That one didn't bother me. So it's interesting it bothers you because it didn't bother me at all. Because like once you fucking fly through a magic portal, like you can sell me kind of whatever you want because already
that issue, and then the fact that I think that the Rice Iphans was not the Lizard. That was recycled footage as well when he turns into a human at the end, as well as when Sandman turns into a human at the end. It's recycled footage. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's the thing. Me and my buddy got in a fight about this because he said the thing about the Lizard, and I looked up the Lizard, and he filmed.
I'll try to find the footage.
Oh, I'm not saying it doesn't look the same or whatever, but I said you need to look up what they actually came in and filmed, because it doesn't matter about recycled footage and all that shit and what they filmed and mad shots and all that. It's about did they actually, because that's one thing if it looks the same and all that. If they actually recycled it and didn't call them back, that's another. But they filmed something, so these guys were doing some shit. But again, clearly they just want to get Andrew in here, and they're like, well, we got it. We just can't use all these villains because he didn't have good villains.
No.
He just sadly didn't really have good villains.
But they brought them both back.
Yeah, well, everyone got 2 villains.
Tom Holland didn't. Tom Holland didn't have any.
Well, no shit, because he was the one. It was his universe going amok.
Yeah, but from a different universe, there could have been a Mysterio. I thought they were gonna bring Jake back, and I'd have been cool with it. Replace him with fucking, right, the Lizard or one of them.
I guess.
Because fucking Green Goblin was great. We haven't touched on him coming back yet.
Well, yeah, but that was the whole idea. He was going to be the main flag. That's the thing, too, is you get too many heavy hitters, everything is... I think it was balanced the way they did it.
Because of budget.
Well, that's one... Yeah, I mean, that's a given. But, like, it's... Since the Lizard Man isn't that great of a villain anyways, did we care that he sat in the car while they did, like, the whole villain reveal thing and everyone's talking about how deep their villain was? No, because we don't really give a fuck about villain. It's annoying. It's annoying and kind of like, well, why the fuck is he just sitting in the car? But it's again, now they can spend a little bit more time on Doc Ock.
Yeah, it was... If it comes down to budget, I feel like the CGI budget had to have gone up because of all the fucking Sandman was in there quite a bit, as well as Lizard, and it's like you could have probably dumbed that down and just got a real actor to come in, like Jake Gyllenhaal, maybe.
Yeah, and like I said, they did get a real actor to come in. Whether you believe that or not, the guy fucking went in and filmed.
We're gonna find this out.
It is what it is.
Okay, so we were talking about Green Goblin and fucking Willem Dafoe's comeback, which was awesome.
Yeah, he killed it. I mean, but
he did an awesome job.
He's good in everything, and like we all knew, it wasn't like we were like, "Oh, is he still got it?" Like everyone was like, "All right, well, he's about to fucking kill this."
He was, you know? So, he was more evil than he was. In the first
same thing, right away they changed his look up. Right away, they had him shatter the helmet and go more like hoodie type look and shit like that. They got rid of all that shit. They got the purple in there, so like they kind of same with all the characters got a revamp slightly in their look, other than like Lizardman, which he's just, like even Doc Ock looked a little different.
Doc Ock was amazing too.
He was really good.
He was. It reminded me just like he played it just as well as he did in Spider-Man 2, and he had that moment of redemption again where he fucking.
And that was what's funny about Green Goblin is like because when you first meet him and throughout most of the first half of the movie he's like normal, you know, and you forget like normal Norman because you're so used to crazy Green Goblin because he turns bad so early in the Spider-Man movies that like it's kind of like I don't remember him being so like level-headed and cool and kind of like submissive and shit, and then all of a sudden when he's like. Norman's on sabbatical or whatever. I was like, there's the Green Goblin. There he is. You know, didn't skip a beat. You know what I mean? He's got that laugh and shit. And it's like, yep, here we go, man. And then, like, he's the one that fucking kills Aunt May kind of thing. Yeah. Like, throws that pumpkin bomb down. Another thing, like, I know we're talking villains, but, like, that was one of the greatest twists ever, too, was, like, the fact they turned Aunt May into Uncle Ben. Like, I don't think anyone really saw that coming 100% of like, oh, she's going to be the one that's going to die now and be the like with great power comes great responsibility and teach Peter that lesson. You know what I mean? Because we all kind of assumed, oh, Uncle Ben's already gone, so he's either dealt with that or he's learned that. You know?
Fucking Iron Man. Some people thought Iron Man was going to say
it. Yeah, you know what I mean? And the fact that like Aunt May hit him with it, and when she was dying, like in the look on Tom's face, it's like, oh man, like this one. And then he goes up to the tower, and he's having his moment, and then all the Spider-Men are there, and they're like...
We've been there.
Been there, and he's like, you have no idea. He's like, yeah, my uncle. He's like, I lost my uncle and Gwen. It's like, oh, my God. But while we are on villain talk, how many movies until Ned becomes Hobgoblin? Because he's going to be the Hobgoblin. It's hard for me to not... Like, he's a tech guy. They've set it up now where he doesn't know who fucking Peter is at all. Yeah. So the fact that Peter's going to naturally try to get back in with MJ and them is going to cause this kind of resentment, I feel like. They're setting it up for... They had the conversation of like, hey man, don't worry, I'll never turn against you. You know what I mean? Like, he is going to be a villain, and I think he's going to be Hobgoblin.
I would say I don't want it to be the next movie for sure. Because it wouldn't make any fucking sense. Build. He's got to learn that Peter is who he is. First.
I don't know, yeah.
So I would assume that do the slow burn like you did in with James Franco's Harry Osborn, like, or give us a Harry Osborn. I mean, people might think that that's weird that he's not he's not a Harry Osborn
at this point. Like, I feel like we've kind of Harry's big in Peter in school because he's the one kid that like kind of shows Peter the time of day and shows him he has a friend, and then he takes that into his life. Like Ned is that. They just call him Ned.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And he's not a rich kid's son. Like
I hope they don't.
Guy's son. So
I hope they don't do another fucking thing like they did with Zendaya, where at the end of the movie she's like, "Oh, call me MJ." Like if we find out that his, and I don't want a fucking John Blake fucking situation from Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Where he's like, "Oh, my name is Robin."
Yeah.
They're like, "What the fuck?"
That was a little, that one's a stretch. That
that's how I felt when she was like,
yeah.
"Oh, just call me MJ" at the end. I was like, "This ain't fucking Dark Knight Rises. Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
So I hope that they don't say that Ned's real name is fucking Harry or something.
No, but I don't know. Like the fact he's a total tech guy and he also has magic ties because he picked up that sling ring and just like
that was pretty cool.
And, like they've already shown not just anyone can pick that shit up and do it.
Yeah.
And like so. You know, because I recently watched Doctor Strange over again, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, dude, Ned figured this out pretty quickly. Doctor Strange getting his ass whooped trying to figure this out.
I like that he doesn't know exactly how to close
Correct.
it, too.
No,
like, that's pretty cool.
Hilarious, and it played really well to
It's
them.
good, not character development, but in a way it is character development, because you're like, okay, he shouldn't know how to fucking use this right away.
Correct.
He just got it
but he still
2.5 hours
uses
ago.
it, which means, like, he has, you know, it's that like, having the force in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's got something in him. He's special in some way, so.
We do have one more topic to talk about, unless we want to hit any more on this.
I have one last thing to say about this movie.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it is when we saw Peter getting keys to his own apartment.
Oh yeah.
I was like, this is the Spider-Man I've been waiting for, because this kid's been in high school for like 6 fucking years, and it was just like, all right, we got to get him out of high school, and now he's on his own.
Longer, man. The snap happened.
Yeah, dude. That spider suit.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing you texted me when you saw it. You're like, that fucking Spider-Man suit.
It literally is. It's off the comic book page Spider-Man to me. Like the blues, the reds.
Yeah.
When he contrasted to the snow because it's snowing and all that. Like the way he was moving, it was just like he had all the sewing equipment strewed across the room. So like it's something he built.
Yeah.
Clearly took inspiration from the other Spider-Man
Yeah.
suits. You know, it was.
It's got the shine of like Garfield's shine, and
but like the like patterning of more so like Toby's.
Yeah.
And like it just was. It was like it's sex, dude. Like it is a sexy fucking Spider-Man costume, and I was like, I can't wait to watch this going forward. Like this is perfect way to like go out. Like, and it's just a new shell of Spider-Man. It was like, all right, I have no girlfriend. My friends don't know who I am. I've saved the world again. Now I got to find a job to make rent because my aunt's dead. Tony Stark's dead. Everyone, you know, it's like he's given up his crazy cool suit. He just had, you know, it's just Peter Parker.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Which, speaking of that, you brought up your aunt, the aunt and Tony Stark. I think it's interesting. It's going to be interesting going forward to see what happens, because I love the scene at the end where he's talking to Happy at May's grave, but he asks him like, "Oh, how'd you know her through a friend or through Spider-Man?" And Happy was like, "Oh, me too." How does he know Spider-Man? What is his knowledge of Spider-Man if he says he knows her through Spider-Man? There's got to be a loophole somewhere where somebody knows who he is.
Wasn't to forget about Spider-Man, it was to forget who Peter Parker was.
I guess that raises a new question of, well, who's fucking Spider-Man? Peter Parker? Okay. It's gonna be fun. It's
information that Happy doesn't have access to.
I'll be stoked to fucking find out where it goes from there. One of the last things I have. So I have two scenes here. I have two notes here of Stan Lee. So to have Stan Lee in this movie would have been fucking incredible to have a cameo.
That's what sucks.
Can you think of anywhere that he could have been? Because I have two things in my mind, but I'm like, oh, this would have been really cool.
Dude, it's tough because like you could have thrown him in anywhere and it would have been full circle. You know,
Yeah.
like it would have almost been cool. Like it could have been really cool if he had been like a security guard at the Statue of Liberty.
Okay.
And like saw all three of them.
Okay.
You know, like being the tying factor to see all three of them kind of thing. Now, that would be a totally different scene they'd have to shoot.
Yeah.
But they're at the Statue of Liberty. They're all fighting there. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been kind of cool. Something like that. But, like, this one does hurt me the most that he's not in. Because it's like, you know, Spider-Man was his baby.
Yeah.
And that's the one that, like, really kicked off the MCU, that and X-Men, the movies. And so it's sad, but...
I thought it would have been cool, which kind of goes off of yours a little bit, was if he was like an iron worker on the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, same thing, yeah.
And he would have been like...
yeah.
Like, just watching it all fall.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Like...
And then the other one would have been for him to be there after May dies, maybe as like somebody working on the roof where he was hanging out, you know, sulking, and he's the one that would have been like, with great power comes great responsibility. Cool, yeah. That would have been like...
It would have been cool. Yeah. But again,
that.
that would never be in the movie because, like, that's cool because it's like, oh, well, now knowing that he's dead, that would have been awesome that he said that. But, like, realistically, if all the cameo scenes he's had, they would have never been like...
No, yeah.
If he was alive, they would have never been like, hey, Stan.
You're going to deliver the line.
But looking back on it, it's just like how I feel about, like, Logan is, like, at the end when they get to the Brotherhood, like, the place they're trying to get to, there's no excuse why when they get to that gate, Magneto's not the one opening that door as an old man. Just the cameo of Syrian and Kellen being like the shepherd that was there as, you know,
this was being built, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, those are the moments where you're like, if they could go back and do it, it would be beautiful. But I like that one a lot, though. It's kind of cool.
That'd been cool. So let's move on to our next movie, our last movie.
Very last thing on all of the live-action Spider-Man is all of the Spider-Man and Mary Janes have dated at some point after they started filming.
Ah, yes.
Isn't that kind of cool?
Is true. That is true.
Yep. All of them, after the first movie, they all had started dating. Some lasted way longer than others.
Yeah.
But they all officially dated publicly.
Wow.
Publicly.
Say, Emma Stone and Garfield, were they married?
I don't think they were married, but they were like the most public. Because Toby and Kirsten dated, but it was only for like a year, not even. It was very quick. Yeah. They said, and it wasn't very, very public. But like Andrew was the one that was like, I fucking love Emma Stone kind of thing. Like, I think Hollywood killed their relationship, like the paparazzi and shit. And then obviously Tom and Zendaya are killing it. So.
Yeah. Nice.
That's my last little fact for the live actions.
So now we're gonna move on to another Spider-Man movie. The best Spider-Man movie. I think we agree on this.
It's pretty damn fucking cool.
So, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie was made in 2018. It has 3 different directors. And I think most people... I don't think most people saw this movie when it came out. And they were like, oh, it's a cartoon, it's animation. Like, I don't want to see this movie, and it's in theaters. And boy, were we fucking wrong. I know I didn't see it in the theaters. I was kind of against it. Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that must have been pretty cool. Especially to see it on that big screen.
Oh, yeah. You know, I remember sitting there looking at all this shit in like 15 minutes thinking, if you are under the influences of certain drugs, this movie's going to be the death of you. like I remember just sitting there being like, this is actually wild.
Yeah.
Like, this is like watching a comic book in live motion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, this is before No Way Home. So it's before, like, multiverses were explained. So there was the first kind of shot at, like, explaining multiverses, too. And it was like, this is kind of working. I'm kind of buying all this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, I'm buying all of this. And, like, the art styles shift all the time. Like, it's not just one type of thing you're getting the whole time. Like, there's all this different storytelling and colors and different art styles and like film tricks and stop motion trick. Like, there's all this shit going on. It's so creative. It's so creative, and it's also a really good fucking Spider-Man story.
It really is.
It's a really good Spider-Man story.
Because, like you had said, it really is like watching a comic book. So they do things in the movie where they give you the boxes where it's their thoughts, and you hear his thoughts like you would if you were reading a comic book, and you see like when he shoots web, it says like thwip. When the words on there are boom and pow and shit like that. You see all that when it happens, and the explosions look like they would if they were drawn.
True.
and it just looks amazing. And no pun intended on that, but it looks amazing for Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to see this fucking movie.
They do. A lot of famous people are voices in that movie that no one realizes.
Yeah, I didn't.
The cast is fucking stacked. Spider-Gwen is the chick from Hawkeye.
Yes, Haley Stanfield.
People don't know that. Like,
Haley Stanfield.
Pretty much everyone who's big in Marvel right now, they tested Into the Spider-Verse. I swear to God, you can go through the list and be like, holy shit, that guy's a superhero now. That guy's Mahershala Ali plays Prowler. Yeah. Like, it's like, they literally were like, yeah, we're going to give you a test run. Go through a cartoon first. And it worked. It's. I didn't know Lee Schreiber was fucking Kingpin. Until you said it, I was like, holy fucking shit, you're right. That's when I was like, I don't know how many people are gonna fucking know that, because it didn't even dawn on me that. And I remember loving Kingpin in the movie. And being like, oh, this is a really cool version of Kingpin. But like everyone in that movie is just stacked as far as like fame. Like look at the Spider-Man. You have fucking Nick Cage in there, dude.
Nick Cage, John Mulaney is Spider-Ham.
Mm-hmm. I can't think of the guy that plays normal Peter Parker. He was.
Jake Johnson.
It was. That Peter
as
Parker
well as Chris Pine. Chris Pine plays the blonde Peter Parker.
The like kind of like out of shape Peter Parker. That Peter Parker to me was amazing. Like
he was great.
Me, like it hit home so hard of like just the dude who's like, man, I've come up short so many times, but like I still kind of try to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Like, even though, and then like he like
we always get back up.
Occasion of like where he's like definitely the one that's least into it, and now he's like, all right, I'm going fully back. And then that's the one that Miles like connects with most. You know what I mean? That's how it always goes. And it again, and we got a Miles movie. We didn't even talk about that. That it's not even a Peter Parker Spider-Man.
No, yeah.
Like we finally get, and like Miles is a very popular character that hasn't been shown a ton of love as far as like in the general public, as far as like content being made about
is he a fairly new? I don't know how
he's
new.
Newer. He's newer, but
within 10 years or
he's been
older?
Around long enough where now like he's one of those like Harley Quinn where he's like new, but he caught fire so fast and everyone liked him so quick that it feels like he's been around forever, and that he needs to kind of get in the fold, because it's like when they introduced Harley Quinn, they're like, all right, this chick's gonna be canon. Like you know, that's exactly what happened with Miles.
Which actually, tidbit for people who don't know, so in Spider-Man Homecoming, Donald Glover plays Aaron.
Uncle.
Aaron. He plays Aaron, and he mentions, my nephew. So it's a little tie-in.
Because that was the whole thing, was when they were going to do the new Spider-Man with Tom Holland, the whole idea, they thought, there was a big rumor for a long time that it was going to be Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
And that it was going to be Donald Glover. He was going to be...
That'd have been cool. I'd have been cool with it.
But then... obviously that fell through, and then they said, all right, well, you can play Miles' uncle.
Yeah.
Since we're not going to have, like, an actual Miles.
They didn't call him Aaron, did they? Or is he just on... Maybe he had to have had a name. Call him
uncle, because the only reason you know him he's an uncle is because he says, I got a nephew. Mm-hmm. And that's how you know that it's Miles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they have to call him something. I don't know.
But, yeah, so... anyways, that was just a tidbit about Homecoming. But, yeah, this is a Miles Morales story. It's... everyone goes crazy about it because he's the first black Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible. And there's a lot of people who are very closed-minded and don't want to say that that's awesome. But
he's a really good Spider-Man,
he's fucking amazing. He has great powers that a normal Spider-Man doesn't have.
Yeah, he's got
people
differences.
Be surprised by.
He's got differences. Yep,
it's like, holy shit, he's amazing. This is a movie... so when they made this movie, Spider-Man was created for young readers, and it... it's kind of forgotten about after you see Andrew Garfield and after you see Tobey Maguire, because they kind of look like adults. They don't kind of look like adults. They look like adults when they play their characters. So you kind of forget that Spider-Man was made for a young reader. When Stan Lee was like, I need something for a younger crowd, he fucking made Spider-Man.
For kids.
And this movie is the same way. It's made for kids. It has adult elements to it. I have a 3-year-old. Oh, no, I have a... she 3? I have a 3-year-old, and I have a 6-year-old. She was 3. They were 3 and 4 when they first saw the movie. They fucking love it. They like Spider-Gwen. They like Miles. When Jamie Foxx in No Way Home says, "Oh man, I thought you would be black," my 3-year-old turned to my wife and said, oh yeah, where's Miles? And it's like, that was a proud parenting moment for me and my wife, that when she knows Miles and all these people in the theater are like, oh, my fucking kid knows. Like, she's educated on this shit.
And that's what I'm saying.
It's awesome.
Like, Miles is a very, very, very popular character. And so, like, it's about time. You know what I mean? And I'm ready to see him live action. Like, I can't wait.
Absolutely.
You know? And it's coming. It's coming too. That's why I got a video game. Like, the Spider-Man video game, which I know you don't play a lot of games, fucking phenomenal. Like, amazing. The second one's a Miles one.
Oh, nice.
It's Miles.
I like it.
It's the same kind of shit, same kind of thing, but you're Miles, and you have some different powers and dealing with a little bit different type stuff. It's cool. It's really, really cool, and it's another deep dive into, Miles.
That's awesome. Say what's really cool about this movie is it is a multiverse movie, like Tyler had said, and they bring in other Spider-Men. So not only are you getting this blonde Peter Parker, played by Chris Pine, this regular, or Peter B. Parker, who's played by Jake Johnson. You're also getting
Noir Spider-Man,
who's played by Nick Cage. You're getting this Spider Pig, who kind of has like an elements of like a Daffy Duck. Like, he pulls anchors out of his pockets and shit. Like, very far-fetched, but you accept it because it's a fucking pig wearing a spider suit. And his name is Peter Porker. Like, shit's funny. Then you're also getting Spider-Gwen.
Yep.
And then you're getting, I can't remember her name, but it's like an anime style where she's able to communicate to the spider who lives in a suit that her dad made.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an anime.
Yes.
And she matches. They all match. They all have their own style. And it's consistent throughout the movie. So it's cool because you're seeing this. You're already seeing this amazing animation that's breaking ground of something you've never seen before.
And then they come and they gender bend fucking the villains. They give you a female Doc Ock,
and she's fucking great.
Awesome, and they just like, it was the idea of like, we got the multiverse in No Way Home of like, all right, these are characters we're going to bring them back with a little different look. This was like, all right, since this is a cartoon and we're not giving you anything you've already seen, we're going to just give you totally new, fresh takes on a lot of characters. Yeah. And it was awesome.
It really is.
And it's another thing, too. It's a good Spider-Man movie of, like, having a good message and, like, his family, like, Miles and his dad. His dad's a cop. Mm-hmm. So it's, like, it's a big thing of, like, him and his dad because his dad thinks, like, Miles is very, like, not a go-getter so much, you know? And, like, the whole idea is Miles is now in the same, like, line of work as his dad. You know, they're both... Because his dad's a good cop, too. It's not like a Gotham City cop. Like, he's like a legit good police officer. And he's trying to just, save... make New York a safer place. And that's Miles' whole thing. Is like, I just want to also make New York a safer place. Because Miles is also, like, the biggest fanboy of Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing, too. Is like, it's like he knows... It's not like Spider-Man doesn't exist at all. Like, they know who Spider-Man is. And like in the comics and shit like that, especially. So it's like, it's that idea of trying to be the second new version of something.
Yes.
So I love Miles. I think he's a great character. And Into the Spider-Verse is a fantastic introduction to that.
It really is. I think anybody could sit down and watch this movie and probably have a closed mind at first. And then once you get 20 minutes in, you're like, holy shit, this movie's amazing, and then you're in it for the fucking
blows all your expectations out of the water because it's just so wild. It's something you haven't really seen before, and you're like, oh, you kind of get lost up in it. And like I said, it's just a bunch of fucking bright colors and just like cool weird animations that are going on that are also telling stories. It's very interesting.
And something that's really cool about it is that I noticed this last time that I was watching it, that there's so much going on in this story. You're getting so much thrown at you that you're not knowledgeable in, and none of it feels rushed. It's all paced so well.
It is paced very well.
One of my things that I really enjoyed is that you're seeing Miles grow, and when he gets these powers, he doesn't really use them until the last scene that he's able to control them. And even in that scene, there's still hiccups that he has, which I'm like, yes. I don't need a perfect Spider-Man. I don't need a perfect character. I need somebody who's learning to be the perfect character.
The growing pains.
Yes, and it's fucking amazing. I can't praise this movie enough and tell any listeners that if you haven't seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, put it to the very next movie that you need to watch.
It's very entertaining. It's a very entertaining movie.
It's for all. You could watch this with your kids.
Yep.
So don't feel like, oh, I'm gonna watch that when the kids go to sleep. Nah, introduce them to this shit.
And you don't need kids to watch it and enjoy it either.
No.
It's like, I get it's cartoons and all that, but it's a good movie. It's like if you enjoy Spider-Man and superheroes and shit like that, you will really enjoy this movie.
Absolutely. You had brought up the Kingpin in this movie, that you love the Kingpin, and something that I enjoyed watching it this last time as well is that I couldn't help think of Shang-Chi. So in Shang-Chi, I think Wenwu is one of the best villains that we've had in the Marvel Universe, because he's this villain that any of us can be. Wenwu's motivations is to get a loved one back, that he thinks that what he's doing is good, that it's just going to get it back, but he's just fucking things up in the process. So Kingpin just wants his family back. He wants to be able to bring them back, and he's fucking everything up in the process. But his motivations is his family. As a villain, your motivation is that. Versus, Vulture, we understand in Homecoming, but his motivations are not because he wants to see his family or because what he's doing is good. He knows that what he's doing is bad.
Yeah, he's trying to put his kid through college.
Yeah, so Wenwu and this Kingpin are motivated by, I just want my family back. I love them so much that I'm willing to do these things to get them back. And I think it's lovely. I think it's such a good thing. Not good thing because they're bad people, but it's such an interesting twist to a villain that makes them relatable to you. Versus, I'm not going to have a fucking Doc Ock. I'm not going to be a Green Goblin, but I can relate to this villain and I can sympathize with this villain.
Yep.
And I think that's very important.
Yep.
Do you have anything else for Into the Spider-Verse?
No.
So the last thing I have for Into the Spider-Verse is that there is a sequel coming out. The sequel comes out this October 7th, 2022, and it's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We will definitely be covering this movie in October because we're going to see it. So look forward to that in October. So with that being said, we can move to our rankings. This is already a long episode, but
it's gonna be a long episode again.
But we're covering a lot. I think this will be one of the last times that we cover multiple movies in a franchise at the same time. Maybe it'll break it up.
I was gonna say, we'll probably start dissecting more individual type movies, and then if you guys want us to expand even more on more of those movies, we'll come and do the next one or the sequel or whatever that may be.
Okay, so first we're gonna go off of who had the best thing. So
rankings. All right,
kind of.
We can keep this short too.
Yes.
We can.
Who had the best love interest? Who was the best MJ or Gwen Stacy? Like who do you think was the best out of them?
I like the Gwen Stacy one.
I like the Gwen Stacy as well. And this will just be
we're not going to defend
action.
This.
This will be just live action.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So yes, Gwen Stacy I would say is my favorite as well. Which movie had the best web swinging in your opinion? I'm going.
I know what yours is. Go ahead.
Mine is The Amazing Spider-Man. I think that it had some of the giving you the POV of Spider-Man as well as it was like ballet in the fucking sky.
It is cool. It is really cool. No Way Home for me. Mm-hmm. The last.
Ooh, I know which one you're talking about.
Last third of the movie is where I love it. Like first of all, when they're fighting and they're all three swinging, and one of the Peters turns around and shoots both of them to slingshot them in front of him. Like so, they were using themselves.
Their momentum,
Like
I cheered.
I was like, this is swinging. And then at the end, when he's in his costume, I was like, this is like, he's doing all the aerial shit. Like, so that's probably my favorite.
It was a great, Mine is The Amazing Spider-Man, though. Best fight. What do you think was one of the best fights in the movie? Let's not count the entirety of No Way Home's end scene.
No.
But if I had to go best fight, I'm going
Toby Green Goblin, that final fight where he's dodging fucking razor
Okay.
boomerangs and all like fires coming everywhere. That's my fight.
I'm going Goblin Holland in the condo where he's like blasting him through floors and shit.
All right,
I thought that was a pretty badass scene.
I'll take you on that.
It really shows off like more of the Goblin's physicalities.
I thought that
was badass. Who has the best Spider-Man suit? And for Holland, we're just gonna go with the original or the one that's worn most.
I'd probably go Andrew or Toby. I didn't really like Holland's suit until, like I said, now he's got my favorite suit. You know, going forward, he'll have my favorite suit because I love that suit at the end of the movie. But yeah, like I wasn't a fan of like the small black spider. Yeah, and like it just wasn't really my thing. I love his eyes. I love Holland's eyes and how they like adjust and everything and kind of they move.
They zoom and shit.
I love that, but I'd say probably Garfield.
Garfield does have a badass suit. I think Garfield's my favorite suit as well.
Just because like Spider-Man, Tobey's is just a little too like trying to be real too hard. Like it's just a little too, but it's still a badass.
Garfield's suit works well for his body type. Like if you put that suit on Maguire, that shit ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I agree.
He's just
so I go.
He's so lanky. It works very well. Who's the best Peter Parker?
Oh, Tobey.
I'm going Holland.
Okay, it's fair. I think that's fair. I'm gonna take Tobey though.
Who's the best Spider-Man?
In the mask?
Yeah.
Garfield.
I'm going Holland.
That's fair too, because again, these are very close. I think overall complete package, Holland runs away with it. I do think so, but I think if you're gonna take individual elements, I think Tobey's the best at Peter, and Andrew really nailed actual Spider-Man. But again, Holland's the best like full package that you can get, which in turn I guess makes him the best. But it's kind of how I feel.
I'd say it wasn't up until No Way Home that I started saying Tom Holland is my Spider-Man. Like that's my Spider-Man now. Fair. So it took 3 movies.
I'm happy with Tom Holland being the next Spider-Man and my Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like I'm not mad.
Yeah.
I don't wish. Like I think he's incredible.
Yeah.
So it's not bad.
I have a letter grade here, but I don't know what we would letter grade. I guess
what are we letter grading?
I guess for listeners who haven't seen the new movie yet, let's letter grade No Way Home.
I mean,
if you want to go 1, 2, 3, we say it.
The accomplishment.
That way we know we're not influenced by the other.
The accomplishment of it and everything. I mean, if you want, I know what I'm gonna give it.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. A-. Oh fuck!
Because I'm just thinking, I rated Batman like an A, and I didn't like No Way Home as much as Batman, just because I'm a fucking freak. Yeah. But like that shit was so hype, and had so much like riding on it, and they delivered. Like I walked out of No Way Home being like, well, they pretty much did everything right. You know
they did.
So, yeah, it's an easy one of the best movies of the year.
Last year. Yeah. Top 3 Spider-Man movies. Let's go 3, 2, 1. Well, not saying it at the same time, but start with your third, second, and then first. If you're not ready, I could.
I know.
Okay.
I know it. I'd probably go Spider-Man 1, the original one.
Okay.
Green Goblin. No Way Home.
Uh-huh.
And then Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Like Doc Ock.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Spider-Man 2 and No Way Home, you could probably flip for 1. Those two are.
I'm gonna change it up over here for you. I'm not counting just live action. If you want to throw Into the Spider-Verse in here, you can.
Then that would pass. That would be my third.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's not taking out 2 or No Way Home for me.
Okay.
But it would replace Spider-Man 1, I think.
Okay. Yeah. My number 3 is gonna be Spider-Man No Way Home.
Okay.
My number 2 is gonna be Spider-Man 2, and my number 1 is gonna be Into the Spider-Verse.
Nice, fair. But like I said, so yeah, we're right.
We're
right there.
Yeah. I like it, man.
And like I said, they're all pretty close. Like they're all
like
very solid films.
If you know, No Way Home's an A-, consider fucking Spider-Man 2 my A, and Into the Spider-Verse my A+. Right. But yeah, I like those rankings. Those are good rankings. I fucking like it. I dig it. We have our reasonings, and I'm cool with it, dude. We can move on now. We could do this. We're gonna call this We Read, We Play. is what I've been
I like
calling
that.
it.
I like
we read,
that.
we play.
I like that
I don't
a
know
lot.
what you had something else going on, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that out there. If we like it, if nobody fucking likes it, then let us know.
Cool.
So we read. It's pretty much gonna be me. I'm the one that reads single comics, so I got some things here that I want to show. So I got 4 comics. This is What If. I'm gonna hand this to you because I'm gonna put it on the page. This is so you can see it.
Oh.
So this is What If Miles Morales was Captain America. And this is a series that's coming out, and they're going to be doing monthly issues on this, and there's going to be Miles Morales being different characters.
Really?
I believe the next issue is What If Miles Morales was Thor.
Interesting.
And it's cool because in this story, Uncle Aaron is actually replacing like the Winter Soldier role. So you get those elements of, and it's one of those things that it's not necessary to have.
Right.
But it's fun. It's cool. A fun read.
Something cool.
And then something else that I've read is Gwenverse. This is issue 1. This is both issues. Both of these issues are issue 1s.
But this is her as a bunch of different superheroes too?
She's going into different multiverses as well. She's able to jump. And yeah, she's seeing in like, they have her there as Captain America. There's like a Thor. There's a Wolverine. Yeah. And this was a weird read for me. I didn't care for it. I'd probably, if I had to letter grade it, I'd probably give it like a C+. If I'm giving What If Miles Morales was Captain America, I'm going A-. A- because it was just such a fun read and I really enjoyed it. Another number 1, Punisher.
Nice.
This is number 1. Nice. It's a brand new comic came out this week.
Punisher guy.
So this is an interesting story because it shows you Punisher, shows you Frank Castle, and he's kind of in this ninja academy type thing. This is already Punisher. So these ninjas came into his house. They wanted to fucking fight him, and he kills them all, every single one of them. And
exactly how Punisher books go.
And this person walks in and Frank is like, well, who hired you? And she goes, nobody hired us. She goes, it was a test and I wanted to see, and I knew exactly how it was going to go. You know, I've watched, all these ninjas that came in here, I raised, and you killed them all in front of me. And I believe that you did it. And the reason why he's working for these people, like as an assassin, is because she was able to save Maria, his wife. So that's the end of the first issue. So going forward, we're going to find out how she's alive, why he's doing this, if he's going to continue to work for these people. But it was a good read. If I had to letter grade that, I'm going B+. It was enjoyable. And then the last issue is Batman Beyond the White Knight. So this is off of the comic that came out a while ago. I can't remember. A graphic novel. And it is Batman Curse of the White Knight and Batman the White Knight. And it takes place in the future. And so in this storyline, what has happened is Bruce Wayne has revealed that he is Batman. And he goes to jail for 10 years. And he donates all of his money to Gotham City. While he's in jail, Terry McGinnis is his normal age, and his dad dies. And Terry finds how to get a bat suit, so he becomes Batman Beyond. And Bruce Wayne decides, I gotta break out of here because Batman's not good for Gotham City. So he breaks out of the prison to fucking fight Terry McGinnis. And this is the story going forward. And it's a pretty interesting story.
I love Terry.
So this might be one that you enjoy.
Yeah.
But those are my 4 comics. That's what I'm reading currently. I get all my comics from Amazing Fantasy. It's in Frankfurt, or it's Mokina?
It's technically Frankfurt, but
it's one of those borderlines. Yeah, so it's Frankfurt, Mokina. There is one in Tinley. There's one in Lockport as well. Yep. But I go to Frankfurt. I have a box there, and you know they're very knowledgeable, and they fucking Lori's the main person that I talk to, and she calls me by name, and she holds all my comics for me, and she did something really cool yesterday. She calls, or I went in there on Tuesday, and I wanted to pick up a Funko Pop. It was the Nightmare Before Christmas of Jack and Sally on the Hill. I don't have that one, and the girls wanted it, and they were all out. She only got 2 for the day, or 2 that came in that week, and she posted it on Monday, and I didn't go in there till Tuesday, and I was like, "Do you have any more?" And she goes, "No, they're all gone." She called me yesterday, which was Thursday, and she goes, "Hey, guess what I found?" I was like, "No fucking way, you got another one?" She goes, "Yeah, I got it." She goes, "If you want it." So fucking very personable. She remembered what I wanted. She called me on my personal phone, not just messaged me on Facebook and said, "It's yours when you get here." So next Tuesday when I go there, I'm gonna have a brand new pop, and that's something I like. It's a good customer service. So amazing.
I've been going there for years. So.
Amazing Fantasy Comics. Anybody want to check it out? Check it out. That's all I got for We Read.
Yeah, for playing. Like we've already kind of talked about, I do stream kind of as another thing that I do, so I play a lot of video games. So I have some kind of Gambit's game news or whatever you want to call it for the first thing you want to start out with. The big thing is in the Fortnite world, no building was removed. So Fortnite kind of stems off of a game that is a battle royale that's built around building and being able to build off materials you have and build walls and all sorts of stuff. And they took it out for this season.
Huh.
And pretty much everybody under the age of 15 is losing their mind and hating it. And everyone like over the age of 22 is like, hell yeah, Fortnite's finally playable. So all the old guys are now getting back into Fortnite like me because I'm like, I don't have to build anymore. It's just a shooter. And I'm having a blast. Whereas like my 10-year-old like nephew was telling me how he hates it because he can't crank 90s anymore, which is like a term of like building shit. So it's like, it's funny. They built it into like the story of the game for the season. Like the bad guys took building away, and you're trying to like get it back, your ability to build or whatever. It's like some multiverse type bullshit.
Okay.
But they announced that there's going to be a permanent mode called Zero Build Mode. So it's staying. They're going to have a mode where you don't have to build. You can play just straight up, which is kind of cool. Because like for people like me, I didn't play Fortnite because it built. I didn't like the building aspect of it. Now I played a little bit and I'm enjoying myself because there's no building. So if you haven't played Fortnite in a long time or you didn't like it because of the building aspect, give it another shot because no build mode or zero build mode is actually a lot of fun. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was delayed. Originally it was supposed to come out this year, 2022, around the fourth quarter, so like the winter season. Now it is pushed into spring of 2023. So
damn,
kind of saw that bitch coming because they haven't been rolling a lot of stuff out about it. So you kind of can get that feeling in the gaming world of like, this is going to get pushed.
And it's DC, so they push everything back.
Correct. So that's gone. So that got pushed. The big news, 2 big releases that are coming. A Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed video game, which Maddie actually brought to my attention. I did some research into it, and it's from the makers of the Friday the 13th and the Predator Hunting Grounds games. So if you guys are familiar with this, it's kind of a cool game. It's usually like a 4v1 type game. So the way the Ghostbusters is going to be set up is you're basically 4 Ghostbusters that go in and are trying to find the ghost. So it looks like it has a little bit of Phasmophobia in it, if you guys know that game where you ghost hunt. And then also someone's going to be able to control the ghost and try to kill you. So you're trying to capture the ghost before it kills you or whatever the Ghostbuster friendly thing that goes slime you. I'm sure it's going to be some shit like that. So it's a co-op ghost hunter / like hunter type game, just like the Friday the 13th game where 4 people are the campers, 1 guy's the Jason, 4 people try to escape, Jason tries to kill them all.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a game.
It's a game, yeah, and it's built more for like kids. Ironically, it's weird. It's like a Friday the 13th game, but like kids like love it, and so they also have, like I said, Predator Hunting Grounds is the movie Predator. It's that version, same type game, but it's Predator and some soldiers.
Okay.
So that's cool. It's just kind of cool because it's a creditable gaming company that's making this, so it has a little something behind it. April 5th, Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, a game that people in the Lego video game community has been waiting for years. It is all 9 Star Wars movies in one game. Finally, they've released different mashups, and all of the movies have been released as Star Wars games on their own Lego games, but we haven't gotten a big saga like they like to do. And the games are always fresh. Even if it's Star Wars and Star Wars 2, they're completely different games always. Lego does a fantastic job at that. So a lot of people are excited for April 5th. I believe if you pre-order it, you get some kind of special troop or character or something like that too. It comes to all systems, PCs, all that shit, April 5th. So make sure you look into that. Because I currently just finished. I'm a bit of an achievement hunter, so I like to finish games at 100%. That's my big thing. That's kind of what gets me going in video games.
I watched this last night.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at the desk and I was watching you do this. I know what's coming right now.
I played the fuck out of Lego Batman 3 for a lot, and this game's from like 2011 or something. It's an old game, but it still holds up. It's an amazing game, and it's my recommendation actually because the jokes and the writing and all that is a lot of fun. The puzzles are actually complicated, even though it seems like a kid's game. It gets a little complicated, and it's so much fun. So I just completed that at 100%.
The part that I jumped in on was you switching a character. Mm-hmm. You switched from somebody to be Martian Manhunter, and when you brought up the menu of the characters you could be, I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, there are so many people here.
Anybody you can think of is in it, and that's thing.
Cool.
Is like the games have just gotten bigger and bigger too. So I've started with the old ones, and I go through and play it till 100%, and then we go on to a new game.
So is there, or not because
absolutely.
I'm not a video game person.
Yeah.
So can you adjust like difficulty levels on these games?
No, Lego's pretty across the board. So they are a simple type game, but the games are meant to be somewhat like stress reducing. Their idea is like when you can die as many times as you want, you just lose coins a little bit every time.
Okay.
But you make so many coins that it doesn't matter, or studs they call them, like little Lego pieces. So the idea it is kind of made for kids, but the writing is so deep cut and so like highbrow type humor that it's made for adults.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because what it is it's a perfect game to play with kids. Like if your kid wants to feel like they're playing, you can have them plug in a controller. They can run around and collect coins while you're still as an adult playing
the story,
a game, and still getting some kind of entertainment because you're going to kind of have to play this with your kid.
Nice.
I have no children. I just love... Because they just, it's kind of like, it's like the Lego movies. If you've ever seen any of the Lego movies where they have that fun kind of childish humor on it, like Lego Batman, is exactly how the Lego video game is.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? It's that's fun.
A great movie, so.
It's one of my favorite Batman movies of all time.
Great, yeah.
And so I can't recommend any of the Lego games enough, and they pretty much have a Lego game for every popular IP there is out there.
So there's like a Harry Potter one too,
there's
right?
Harry Potter, there's
Lord of the
Indiana
Rings?
Jones, Lord of the Rings, and a Hobbit.
No shit.
Yeah, so they have pretty much damn near Jurassic Park. So
fuck. Okay.
That's the big thing. But I just finished Lego Batman 3. A fantastic playthrough. Very cheap to get to because it's so old if you want to pick it up. And I mean, I dumped a good amount of hours in it to get to it at 100. Like if you want to complete the game, there's a lot of shit to do. So that is currently my like kind of gaming recommendation to play, and then we'll be picking a new game this month to kind of dive into and start achievement hunting because that one's off the list now. It's complete.
Awesome.
So that's kind of it for gaming. This game talk, or what do we call it? Play talk.
We play.
Yeah, we play. So that's it for we play this week, and we'll kind of keep you updated with releases and what I'm playing next.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Next coming episodes.
Congrats on 100% achievement.
Thank you. It's a great feeling that no one gives a shit about except me. You know what I mean? I'm like, another one.
Nice. Well, that's awesome.
So,
So, this is the area where we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about next.
Awesome.
So, next episode, we're going to be releasing, and this is I feel like you have that smile on your face because you thought of this episode. It's fucking brilliant.
It's so corny, but
when you said it, I was like, yeah. That's it, because it's good. So, because we're going to be releasing more content, we're going to be hitting a second episode. It'll be a mini-sode where we're going to be talking about one thing in particular, and Tyler's going to explain to you why we chose this thing.
Well, for the month of April, we were kind of trying to find something that was April-related or themed or something like that, and we were having a tough time, and then cross the idea of April O'Neil, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
We're going to do the original TMNT 1 movie. And this is kind of the idea of what we were talking about is we're going to try to start doing movies more singular. And I think especially we've talked about, and we can kind of tell the listeners a little bit that like the first episode of the month will probably be your longer episodes,
Yeah.
where we cover more shit, we do more talking. So like this one has ran longer than intended probably.
Oh, yeah.
But the idea is you're going to get a big, nice, long, juicy one in the beginning, and then throughout the rest of the month we're going to drop you with some little more minisodes or more focused content on just one movie or just one subject. And then, like I said, if you guys really like the Ninja Turtle stuff, let us know. Keep talking to us, and then we'll do a TMNT 2 in the upcoming month sometime. Something like that. So we can kind of keep gauging what you guys want to listen to, and then so that way we don't always have a 2-hour discussion of franchises, because that's why these things turn into 2 hours and 3 hours, is because we're covering multiple franchises over one episode and then still trying to doing a movie review.
That's right.
This way we can kind of talk about the things, hit on what was popular, what's fun, and then we can just deep dive into that singular movie and keep it a little more condensed for you guys.
Yes, like we had talked about all the Spider-Man right now. When we go back and we're doing Across the Spider-Verse in October,
we don't have to correct.
You guys know how we feel about Spider-Man by watching this episode.
And we had that discussion because we definitely could have done that with TMNT. There's so much TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff out there that we were like, hey, and we were like, no, let's just start with the original movie, and then we'll kind of go from there and branch off.
For sure.
That'll be the next one coming up.
And that'll be mid-April.
Yes.
Mid-April we'll be doing that. We can be watched now. So, well, not now. We've been able to watch us for a few weeks now, or a few months now. But we are on YouTube. You guys can find us by searching No Nerds Were Harmed. We have a few videos now. We have 3 videos now that everyone could watch, and there'll be a 4th one coming up pretty soon for this episode. You could also hang out with us on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, and I like to be interactive with you guys. I want to post polls, and I want to post some of the nerd news that comes out. One of the newest polls was who would win in a fight between the Spider-Man villain actors. So not as their characters. It was Lee Schreiber as Kingpin, and it is, who else was it? Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio. Jamie Foxx as Electro, and Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, but not as those characters. It's just so you guys know who they were, who would win in a fight. So Tyler thinks it would be Lee Schreiber. I think it would be Jake Gyllenhaal.
There you go. That's why we do the polls.
Yep. I want to know what you guys think. So come hang out with us on Facebook.
Twitter. We now are on Twitter. So NNWH Pod. At NNWH Pod. No Nerds Were Harmed Pod. We're on Twitter. So that's going to be our podcast Twitter, where we're kind of doing polls, tweeting nerdy things, interacting with people. I still have my Twitter as well. Twitter is at Gambit the Goon, which is more game related stuff. So if you did like the game kind of talk and shit like that, and you want to follow along, you can do that on Twitter. And Twitch is Gambit the Goon. I myself am also on Instagram. So if you do kind of like the acting stuff and that part of the career, you can follow at Tyler Burke Actor on Instagram. But in general now, like I said, we're on Twitter as a podcast, NNWH Pod. We also can be listened on Apple, Spotify, Alexa, which is, I believe, Amazon Music. All of these things are up and running. The main thing, especially with YouTube as well, is if you guys can, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I know it's annoying to hear it all the time, but hitting the like, hitting the subscribe button really, really, really helps us and gets us like the data that we need to kind of decide what way we want to take the podcast, what's working, what's not working. The only way that happens is if you guys kind of either A, give us feedback. Like I said, you can always DM us on any of these platforms, or kind of bring up a discussion, interact with us, and then just either share it or give it a like and a subscription. You can always hit that notification so you know when we go and produce a new episode, or you can put us on mute and just give us the friendly follow to help us out. So please like, follow, subscribe, share, whatever you want to do. All of that helps us more than you know.
That's right. Just like Tyler said, you can give us a thumbs up, you can write a review, you can leave us some stars. Let us know you like us. If you don't like us, then fuck you. I'm Maddie.
I'm Tyler.
No Nerds Were Harming the making of this podcast. Bye.